Hey guys, welcome to Green Bean Fiction. So in today's video we are gonna see what if Izuku had electromagnetic quirk and married Momo and Uraraka. Part 3, Final. Before starting, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe if you are interested in MHA fanfictions. This story is Electromagnetic Engagement by Stillwell03. Now without wasting any more time, let's dive in. The days leading up to the training camp had been quiet for the most part after the ordeal at the mall. Thanks to Izuku's quick thinking, the police were able to put away one of the most powerful and dangerous members of the league that they knew of. For Ochako and Momo, however, they were just happy that Izuku came out of this with relatively no harm done to him. There was, however, a bit of backlash from several people that day who simply videotaped this and did nothing to help the situation, with social media almost demonizing Izuku. But the Hero Commission was able to help smooth out everything by showing camera footage of Izuku being held by his neck and only acted in defense. The electric quirk user did have his statement to the police put out as well, saying he knew from previous experience that Shigaraki was dangerous if all 5 fingers were to hit his neck. In the end, Izuku's credibility was saved, but more eyes would be on him. Well, guess camp's gonna be something, Momo stated while having her eyes barely open. Seeing this, Izuku grabbed Eri and unlatched her harness off Momo to put on himself. "Why don't you go and lay down on the bus? I'll be in after I put the luggage in." "Yan, thank you, Izuku." Momo started leaving with Ochako helping her onto the bus before the sound of an all-too-familiar blonde asshole was heard. "I heard some of Class A failed their final exams. You must all be so ashamed. Especially the 2 tram." The sound of electricity cracking was heard for everyone to look over and see Izuku giving Monoma a look as if he was ready to kill. "You even finished that sentence, and I'll make it so the chances of you having a life outside a hospital bed where a nurse won't have to change a bed pad for you and literally treat you like an infant that can't do anything will be a blessing for you." The lighting became more centered for those who've seen it in action to immediately back away, afraid they might get brought into this. "Go on. I dare you to finish that and see what happens." Everyone around waited to see what was going to happen, for even Aizawa and Vlad to watch, worried this might get out of hand. Izuku stopped his lightning, however, for some reason, and returned to packing his and the girls' things into the bus. Monoma?" Kendo tapped on his shoulder to get no reply. "He's unconscious. My best guess, I scared him to the point he passed out and also pissed his pants." Looking to the front, Kendo saw her classmate have no indication in his eyes that he was conscious, as well as seeing a damp spot on his crotch. To be fair, he did deserve this. "He wants to make fun of my wives. I'll make him know that that's the dumbest thing he could do. That's what I try to tell him, but he doesn't listen. I feel pity for you. At least Mineta tries to hold back. Him, on the other hand, has been as horrid as the day we met." Izuku shut the bottom storage compartment of the bus while holding a baby bag on his shoulder. "Hope you enjoy your trip." He walked away with Kendo dragging Monoma out of the area by his shirt collar. "Sometimes I think you just like being messed with and turned into a lesson for everyone to not be," the big fist quirk user mentions while tossing her unconscious classmate to some of the guys. While hopping on the bus, Izuku pulled out a small rabbit for Eri to play with and walked right to the back, where Ochako motioned him with Momo beside her, barely awake. "Sorry it took so long, ow." Both girls pinched Izuku's cheeks in anger, seeing the incident outside. "Gwish. I shouldn't have dwun dwok. Bwuc when I habe way wuth bawatch. 2. Next time you do this, I'm going to pull you away by your ear." Ochako puffed her cheeks in anger, with it looking more hilarious than angry. "You're going to pay us back by being our pillow on the ride down." Momo held a similar irritated look with bags under her eyes. "Fair enough." Izuku places Eri in a car seat for toddlers beside them before getting between his 2 wives, who immediately used his shoulders as pillows and fell asleep almost instantly. As they left, the group of 20 college students started getting somewhat rowdy for Momo to wake up and make earplugs for her and Ochako before going back to sleep. Eventually, Izuku started falling to the feeling of fatigue as well from the bus ride to close his eyes as well. He only woke up when Bakugo shouted in anger to wake Eri up and start making her cry. This led to him getting an electric shock to knock the ash blonde out and make him fall unconscious. Needless to say, the rest of the ride from then on was dead silent, for everyone else to not have to worry about smelling like a barbecue with the bottom of their shoes exploding from the wattage thrown into them. About a few hours into the drive, The bus stopped for Aizawa to motion everyone off the bus. Out of fear, several of the students found a long stick to try and poke Izuku awake so he wouldn't shock them and accidentally stick it up his nose. This prompted him to zap the stick as he was startled awake, almost instantly turning it to ash. Okay. 5 seconds for somebody to tell me why I had to stick up my nose as a wake-up call. 1. Sorry. Mr. Aizawa wanted us to get out of the bus. Izuku raises an eyebrow at Zero. So you woke me up by shoving a stick up my nose? We were kinda scared you'd kill us if we woke you up by shaking you. Ashido stayed behind Zero and Kirishima to avoid being hit by a stray lightning bolt. And it's because of that the stick is on fire. Momo opened her eyes and pointed at the burning stick in Kirishima's hands. Ah. He dropped it to the floor of the bus and stomped on it to put the flames out. Alright. We're up, so start moving out. Izuku got up to head over to Eri, who was giggling at the act that was happening before. Did you like how silly our classmates were? Eri kept giggling before unintentionally throwing up on herself and Izuku's hands. And that is why I had a spare onesie inside the baby bag. I got her. Ochako passed Izuku a baby wipe to clean his hands off before taking Eri into her arms to start changing her. I'll tell Mr. Aizawa you both are changing Eri. Izuku walked off to see a car parked near the rest area they're in. Your wives still asleep on the bus or something? Aizawa walked over for Izuku to finish cleaning his hands off. Eri got a little carsick, so they're changing her now. That's not an issue, right? Honestly, this is more for everyone else, so it's fine. The two walked towards the rest of the class with everyone questioning what they were doing out in the middle of nowhere. As they did, the car opened to 2 women dressed in a similar hero outfit attire that resembled cats with different color themes. Upon introduction, the two were discovered to be part of the pro-hero group known as the Wild Wild Pussycats. Now this is awesome. Getting to train with pros that were founded when I was a kid. Izuku's enthusiasm was quickly disliked by the blonde pro Pixie Bob, who seemed to get more angered when he went into detail of the pros. They're a 4-hero group that specializes in mountain rescue. This year marks their 12th of active duty. I'm pretty sure your math is wrong. Pixie Bob held the electric quirk user by the head with claws sinking into his head to make him bleed a bit. I'm 18 at heart. Okay. Izuku said, muffled under the cat-like glove for Pixie Bob to let him go. What the? The pro looked down to see the small bit of blood on her glove begin to electrify before giving her a cartoonish shock which even shows them an X-ray of her skeleton for a moment. When she fell to the ground, everyone stared in amazement at the fact Izuku was able to indirectly manage that. 1. I did say you bleed literal energy. At least now I know for a fact it's not figuratively. Momo walks over with Eri in a pink dress with Ochako to the side. 1. Ow. Just what the heck is this kid anyway? Pixie Bob got up before smelling something in the air. And what smells good? You. Mandalay points out for the blonde pro to smell herself. I have the urge for grilled meat right now. Getting back on topic. Mandalay pointed towards a set of mountains while smiling. At the foot of those mountains is the camp you all will be staying at. It should take you about 3 hours to make it there. Those that don't make it there by noon don't get lunch. The entire class began to panic and start running towards the bus. Sorry to disappoint you all, but the training camp starts now. Pixie Bob got to the front of the bus to activate her quirk and send almost everyone off the cliff. While falling, Izuku looked around to see Momo and Ochako weren't around. So this is what he meant by giving us the directions of the camp. Izuku thinks to himself before activating his quirk, causing himself to float gently to the ground. Meanwhile his classmates land with a thud. Why did you drop us off a cliff, you bitch? Katsuki screams as Pixie Bob leans over the edge of the cliff before beaming him in the face with a clod of dirt. You might want to be careful out there, this is the forest of monsters. Mandalay calls down before they disappear from the clifftop. Hey, Denki? Can you come here a second? I have an idea. Izuku asks, getting the attention of the off electricity quirk user. Yeah, what's up? He questions, walking towards Izuku. You think this is overrated and a complete waste of time like I do? Yeah, and I'm super hungry too. His stomach grumbles after this is said. Alright. Grab my shoulder. Sorry everyone, but I have a family to catch up to and I'm going to be using jamming Ye here as a conduit. Ciao. Izuku says with a wave before lifting his hand towards the sky. In a flash of lightning the two vanish from the forest below. After seeing the lightning strike the base of the cliff they were standing on, Ochako turns to Mandalay, who had ducked seeing the bolt strike. Did you honestly think that he wouldn't do that? He can basically teleport to any location so long as any static electricity or power is present. I bet he just used Kaminari as a conduit to teleport both of them right to the training camp, and he is raiding your fridge. She comments before another lightning strike is seen further away where they had pointed to at the training camp. Just what else is he capable of? Pixie Bob shouts, causing Eri to start to cry. Generating an electromagnetic field similar to that of the Earth's and levitating with it. He also figured out that he can weaponize it by using it to orbit pieces of steel around himself at such high speeds that you'll be turned into a blood pit if you tried to get too close to him. Aizawa points out before a bolt of lightning hit a tree near them. That was probably him telling you to shut the hell up and let his daughter sleep. One Mandalay went pale with Pixie Bob having hearts for eyes. Is he available? Hell no. Both Ochako and Momo shouted in anger while Eri blew a raspberry at the pro. 1. I don't think he would be against giving you a sperm donation, but as for hooking up with him and making a kid in the traditional sense, no. If you haven't noticed, he was wearing a wedding band and these two here are also wearing one as well. Aizawa adds in. Welp, I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say he beat our records for fastest run to the camp. Come on, Kota. I think our job here is done. Mandalay brought a boy around 5 with her with his face holding a scowl. Hold on a minute. Why did you want us to keep these two from being thrown off? The blonde pro asks, unsure of the reason. Take a closer look at their stomachs, they're genius. They're pregnant. Taking a look, Pixie Bob and Mandalay saw a baby bump on both girls for the red-haired pro to smile for joy. Congratulations, you two. You must be so happy to have 2 future siblings. Mandalay spoke to Eri, who smiled a toothless grin at the pro. The kid's got some spunk getting 2 women pregnant. Might actually ask if he's got a friend or slightly older brother who'd want to get together with a pro. His brothers all might. Well, adopted brother. His mother is the retired pro hero Paragon. Momo, Ochako and Aizawa commented for Pixie Bob to snap her frustration knowing she'll have to let being in a powerhouse family like that go. 1. And here I thought I was gonna get a shot at being with a kitten like that. I was hoping to get someone young and powerful like him. If you want, we can talk him into giving you a baby through artificial insemination. Momo suggested for the pro to wave the offer off. Thanks, but I was hoping for a mate, not a litter yet. I can get that. If you're interested in anyone else in our class, I recommend avoiding the guy with balls on his head, the other electric quirk user in the class, and you should probably avoid the ash blonde with a temper. Ochako states to give a little help in Pixie Bob's hunt. Everyone immediately began heading towards the camp by car or bus, somewhat planning Izuku to be waiting for them with a steak or something in his mouth. At the camp, the bus for Class A parked at the front of the camp with Mandalay following in the car behind. When they walked out, they saw Izuku sitting with a whole ham haunch and cup of tea, that looks like it has been attacked by cats, in his hands playing Kaminari at chess. It appears that the game had just started, however after 2 turns Kaminari is already in checkmate and has lost the game. Damn it. That's the 4th time already. Kaminari shouts in frustration. You should have known by now that beating me in something strategic like this was impossible, man. Me and Momo play this for hours and she's the only person who's ever beaten me at this, and that was only once. You have to think multiple steps ahead and predict what I'll do next and not just move pieces like you've been doing. Izuku explains before showing Kaminari what he had planned. 3. Told you he would have raised your fridge. Momo laughs somewhat seeing Izuku eat the last of the haunch bone and all. 7. So just you two are here? Aizawa questions. Pretty much. Everyone else is out in the forest. I could only bring Kaminari since he is also an electricity quirk user. Izuku explains before arcing a spark between his fingers. How much food did you eat? I saw 4 fridges and I only raided one of them. This is the first thing out of the second fridge. He explains before taking another bite out of the ham haunch. I wasn't too greedy, I gave Denki some too. Before you ask, that trick he did takes a lot out of him and he eats a ridiculous amount to sustain the energy he uses and produces, so he has to eat a lot. Ochako explains as the heroes nod in understanding. Something tells me this is going to be a long week with him. Both pros thought as they witnessed Izuku finish the last of the ham wedge in his hand before snapping the bone like a twig to get at the marrow within. The next day came for Class A with Aizawa bringing them to a clearing. Alright. Today we will be working on strengthening your quirks. You all have grown in handling situations and learning how to fight in real-world situations, but your growth in your quirk factors has been little to any at all. He handed a ball to Bakugo, who was given the same objective as when they were doing the ball throw last time. Many planned for it to be significantly farther, but once it was thrown, it reached not much farther than his best throw back at the beginning of the year. Take this as proof that you all almost had no growth whatsoever with your quirks. As such, this camp will grow that specifically. Be prepared, because this week is going to be hell for you all. Aizawa laughed like a madman before Mineta looked around confused. So where's the Shimura ladies? Sleeping, since they won't be part of this. I'd rather avoid explaining to their husband why his unborn children are facing dangerous threats here. To be honest, I was somewhat against him training this week since he's already stronger than All Might and this is somewhat irrelevant for him, but he is going to help with somebody else's growth. Kaminari felt a bit uneasy before having a hand on his shoulder. You hear that, Kaminari? It'll be hell for you, but you'll definitely grow stronger. I can promise that. Izuku declares, causing the blonde to swallow a lump of anxiety in his throat. 5. Come on, man. I thought we were friends. He protests, but it falls on deaf ears as Izuku forces him to levitate, then be drawn in towards the black-haired electricity quirk user before they disappear towards the woods. What's he got planned? Mina questions watching them walk away. Izuku is going to teach Kaminari how to tap into ambient static electricity and not solely to rely on the power within his body. I don't think it'll be anywhere near the capabilities and expertise of Izuku, but at least he can keep Kaminari from going all brain dead. He's also going to help him with his wits. Now that I have to see. Juru declares as she starts to walk in the direction of Izuku and Denki. I wouldn't do that if I were you. Aizawa stops her with her capture gear before turning her around. Unless you're walking around in so much rubber you look like a walking condom, I wouldn't go within the same kilometer of those two. There's going to be enough power to light up Tokyo for a month being thrown around over where they're going, so for your safety you're staying here. Besides, you have training too, you can go see your boyfriend Denki later. 1. He's not my boyfriend. Juro yells at Aizawa, her earphone jacks moving on their own to emphasize that she's angry, embarrassed by that statement. 4. That beet red face says otherwise. Mina teases. Shut up, Mina. You, Mineta, Shiro, Kirishima and Monoma have remedial courses with me. Kaminari is exempt since he's going to be thrown through the ringer with Izuku over there. Before you ask Iida, I had Smintos and Powerloader create a small fake power plant where static for brains and the walking lightning bolt can train. A few moments later, the group sees a yellow bolt of lightning strike somewhere within the trees. The thundercrack startles several of the members of both classes. That's to prove they're already starting. Now get to work. The group immediately began training with another lightning bolt happening and the sound of Kaminari's cries in pain being heard. Why do I have to train with this hell? Quit crying, you baby. This is only a warm-up. I hate to see what a serious training practice is for Shimura. Everyone shivered as Kaminari screamed again in pain with the sudden smell of meat wafting with wind currents. I wonder if he'll turn into fried meat at the end of this. With Ochako and Momo, the two began to wake up with Eri wrapped in their arms to notice their husband was nowhere in sight. Did they already start training? Maybe. I wonder if Izuku raided everything in the fridge yet. The two got up to start heading out with Eri in their arms towards the kitchen. There, they saw Mandalay bent down near a high chair. Yep, just as empty as I thought. Ochako groans seeing a cleaned-out fridge. All right, Kota, eat everything up. She started speaking in a cutesy voice to gain the three's attention. Hey Mandalay, what are you doing? Ochako asked for her to stand and turn towards the mothers. Oh, perfect timing. Kota was eating and I wanted him to meet Eri. Who's Kota? Both asked for the cat crow to step to the side and show a small dark-haired child about Eri's age. Kota, I'd like you to meet Momo, Ochako and Eri. They're people that are staying with us. The small child began giving baby banter with Momo grabbing an extra baby seat for Eri to sit in and eat alongside. The two started speaking as if they were talking to each other before bursting out in a fit of laughter. Doesn't that warm your heart? I wonder what they're saying. 1. Sometimes I think Eri thinks the same when we talk among ourselves. The three laugh at the creation quirk user's comment before she began asking about Kota. So when did you have Kota? I didn't. He's my nephew. So are you taking care of him while his family's out or something? Ochako asked for a frown to be on the pro's face. No, he's living here because his parents are gone. I'm so sorry. I didn't know. It's okay. None of you knew. You see, his parents were pros, but ended up dying about a year ago. I took Kota in since I couldn't let him stay in foster care. Fortunately, he's young enough where he doesn't understand what happened yet. That at least saved him some tragedy of knowing this. When he's old enough to understand though, I will tell him about his parents. Primarily the good, and I'll tell him when he's able to understand what happened to them. The three watched both children try and mimic one another in acts to see no significant difference between them and normal babies their age. If it means anything, I think you're doing a good job. Eri's own parents are either dead or had abandoned her. We found her in the middle of a dark alley about to be prey to a villain underworld leader once called Overhaul. Why are you speaking about that Yakuza boss in the past tense? Mandalay asks nervously. Our husband went all out Palpatine on him and zapped him to dust, or as our mother-in-law calls it, Kentucky Fried Villain. 11. I do not think I want to try or know what KFV would taste like. I don't think it would be appealing and probably taste evil. Ochako gives a blunt answer while Momo gives Eri a bottle to drink. Trust us when we say we understand the difficulties that you're facing. At least you know Kota sees you as a happy parent. Look at that smile. Momo motions to Kota, who looks like he's overjoyed. He normally makes that face when he needs to use the bathroom. The sound of a fart from the small baby and Eri's laughter seemed to lighten the mood significantly. Thank you at least. I was worried I wasn't doing a good job. But if the two of you think he's doing well, then maybe I'm doing something right at least. Mandalay grabbed Kota out of the seat to bring him into the other room. Well, Eri, looks like you have a new friend for the week. The small child burped after finishing her bottle for the two to laugh at this a bit. To be honest, I don't see anything different between her and Izuku. It's kinda funny. I wonder if that's where she gets these habits from. Momo questions before picking Eri up while Ochako went to find a play mat for her to crawl around on. Later that evening, after training, Class A and B were told to make their food by Ragdoll and Pixie Bob, who said they were making curry. While doing this, the groups noticed a strange amount of static on both Izuku and Kaminari, with the latter smelling an awful lot like fried chicken. Ochako started cackling when she saw Izuku's normally curly black hair now all frizzy and puffed up like an afro. Iida and Izuku went to focus on cutting the veg while Kaminari and Jiro were working on the meat. At the time, the ox-cord girl seemed somewhat curious how the training went. 2. So how'd the training go for you? Sounded kinda crazy with all the lightning going into the air, kinda not helping. Well, I did learn a trick from Shimura if you wanna see. Quote. Maybe later. Oh come on, I really want to show you the trick. Can't you just watch it for 2 seconds? Basically pleading on his knees, Jiro gave in and allowed Kaminari to show her it. Alright, what is it? You're gonna like this, Jiro. Kaminari smirks as his eyes and hair start to glow a bright yellow as he begins activating his quirk. Jiro arches an eyebrow seeing this new ability from Kaminari as suddenly a massive thundercrack reverberates off of the buildings as Kaminari and transformed himself into a bolt of lightning and blitzed past her into a tree a fair distance away at the speed of light. When he reappeared, the tree exploded due to the electricity, revealing Kaminari now standing on the stump as leaves and wooden shrapnel fell around him. Whoa, Jiro was impressed to say the least. That was awesome. Yay. Kaminari's brain-fried state gives his casual goofy smile and thumbs up for her to laugh. You can't even do it without frying your brain yet. Ha 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 ha. Kyoka, he's been training with Izuku non-stop for 14 hours, cut him some slack. Plus he was really excited to show you that. Momo protests her, laughing at him, but is almost interrupted by Katsuki screaming. 1. Oi, stop laughing and get to fucking. Bakugo was hit in the head by a potato courtesy of Izuku, who gave a death glare pointing to Eri and Kota to the side playing with Mandalay in a sandbox. Why the hell is there now another fucking bra? He was cut off again, but this time by Pixie Bob hitting him over the head with a frying pan. What the actual fuck, people? Stop cursing in front of babies and maybe you won't get hit. Everyone shouts as a reply. I swear to God if my daughter ends up saying what you let fall out of your mouth, as her first word I'll castrate you. Momo threatens quickly, manifesting a mallet from her arm. And I won't use a clamp. Most men in the area moved a leg to cross the other hearing this and having a mental picture of this. 11. The group continued working with Iida, starting a conversation with Izuku. So Shimura, how is training with Kaminari faring? He stops when he sees the electric quirk user not miss a beat while chopping so fast that his eyes can't keep up. Very well, he's able to use a wattage high enough where he can do my jump. Now we're gonna use the time to increase it so he can at least use the trick 3 times both ways. After that, I'm going to get him to learn how to teleport vast distances like I can. Something tells me he will be turned into a mini-you by the time we are through. Ha, that's a good one. That'll take 1,000,000 years and he still would barely make the cut. Here's a question, why don't you use the weather-based portion of your quirk all that often? I've only ever heard you mention it and that was months ago. Mainly because it causes a lot of collateral damage. Storms are massive and I can't control them very well so I primarily just use the electricity portion of my quirk. Wouldn't want a typhoon to manifest in the middle of a battle, or worse a tornado in the center of a populated town. You are correct. A tornado in the area of Kyoto or Tokyo would be devastating and not something you'd wish to see happen. 2. I have though jumped into a storm before and absorbed the electricity inside it. Sparing the details, let's just say I glowed for about a week. 1. Now I don't believe you. It's true. He was Aries' night light for a week after we adopted her. Ochako came over with her phone to show Izuku rather luminescent in a picture reading a book in a room with Eri in a crib. Quote. Sometimes I think you just love to show off. Your point. Iida pinched the bridge of his nose hearing him not deny this before hearing Bakugo start an explosion where they were cooking. Want me to help light the fires? I doubt we'll have any stove areas left if Kachan keeps doing what he's doing. Please do. Izuku sent a lightning bolt towards the wood in the cooking areas for each to light in seconds. Sometimes I forget how resourceful you are. Izuku's finger held a bit of steam for him to blow it away as if it was a pistol steaming from massive use. I wonder if your children will be this powerful when they're born. 1. As the group kept working, Jiro smiled while seeing Kaminari try and recover from his quirk's backlash. You may be a doofus but at least you're cute, she says as she walks over and kisses Kaminari on the cheek. Few seconds after, the electrification quirk user regained his mental state to acknowledge what happened. Wow, Jiro, that kid was, shockingly, cute. He began laughing at his own joke before getting a kick to the ankle by the purple-haired girl. Ow, that hurt. Of course it did, idiot. Did you have to tell such a corny joke? What? Shimura said to zap your butt and I thought that was gonna get me a punch to the face. Was the joke worse? Hearing this, Jiro thought for a second before putting her head back into the job they needed done. Jay, just shut up and go back to work. I will never understand women. At least you're walking in the right direction, doofus. Jiro moved a bit closer to Kaminari for both to blush a bit. Sneaking away from everyone, Kyoka started to move towards the baths, making sure to use her quirk every few feet to make sure she isn't being followed. So far so good. Continuing into the hall, she gave one final glance in every direction before tiptoeing into the co-ed bathing area. As she slowly opened it, she heard someone behind her speak up. Hey Kyoka, ready for a little bath? She freaked and jumped 10 feet before turning and covering Denki's mouth with her hand. Her shushing him quietly as she does so. Shut up you idiot or you'll have everyone in the hero course find out that we're having a bath together. She spoke in a silent scream before moving their talk into the changing area. She shut the door before walking towards a bin to the side. Let's try and make this somewhat quick so nobody suspects anything. I told the girls I was going to bathe on the girls' side, so they won't think too strangely about this. What did you say to get away from everyone else? 1. I told them that Shimura didn't let me go to the bathroom through all of today's training and I had to take a long dump. Kyoka smacked her head hearing the stupid excuse but thought for a moment then laughed at how easily believable it was. That's either so stupid that it could work or our classmates are just that gullible. Though he did kinda keep me from going to the bathroom today, if that makes things more believable. TMI. This was all Kyoka said while stripping out of her clothes and placing them in the corner in a basket she brought herself to avoid any onlookers in the bath to think they were in here. Clothes. She turned to see Denki already naked with nothing blocking her eyes from seeing him. Could you at least put a towel on? Come on, Kyoka. You know you prefer me without something on. Denki joked while the Ochako Quirk user just simply grabbed his clothes and placed them in the bin she had placed her own in. The two began walking out to the bath area to wash each other off. You seem somewhat better than I expected you to be with the training you're doing. Trust me, I have no idea what happened half of the day I was that fried. You're still kinda cute when you're stupid. Kyoka laughed a bit to herself while remembering when they started dating. Around the sports festival, the two began going out after Jiro helped patch Denki up from Momo and Ochako's little lesson of him and Mineta spiking drinks. One thing led to another and the two began hanging out and eventually making it official. Before the training camp though, they were interrupted before they could christen in their first time together. Though they wanted to continue their relationship, they did also want to keep it private. As such, they kept the fact they were dating from their classmates until they were both somewhat comfortable with everyone knowing. So how's training been with you? My ox cords feel like they're splitting from the pain. Kyoka started rubbing her ox cords on her earlobes before Denki moved to face her directly. Looking down, Jiro hid her face with embarrassment. Cover yourself when you're turning around, idiot. Here, Denki used a bit of static to help relax Kyoka's pain in her jacks. Shimura taught me that sometimes using electricity on areas that are sore or injured interrupts the pain signals to your brain, stopping the pain, at least how he said it. It'll feel tingly but it should help. Feeling a bit of a strange sensation, Kyoka's ears felt more relaxed and with less pain coming through her mind. He's taught you a lot. This feels a lot better. She leans her head into his chest as he gently massages the earphone jacks from her ears, keeping the voltage as low as half a volt just to interrupt the pain signals. You'll also like A Ranger's Duty, 5.7K 126. The night is cold as the quirkless Izuku Yagi wanders in an effort to find safe lodgings. Why? Because he ran away after being suicide-baited, denied a hero's path. His hiatus, the vigilante, Bina X male reader. 255K 5.8K. One day long ago in Quig, China, a luminescent baby was born with a unique power. Then, as time passed, the similar phenomena happened all over the world, and soon. All the power. 597K 13.1K. Izuku hated his life. He hates school to how distant his mother is from him. Ever since that day, a year after getting told he was quirkless, it's been going downhill. W. Izuku Kaizen, 28.1K 270. The story follows the life of Izuku Yagi as he was living his life with his family quite peacefully until he and his sister went to the quirk doctor and life changed calm. Izuku Shimura, the Saiyan of Earth. 4.9K 159. Inko Shimura, the daughter of the late hero Nana Shimura, was walking through a forest after a bad breakup. Fortune smiles upon her as this day a boy would arrive who she. The married life of Izuku Midoriya Izumomo. 103K 1.4K. Izuku Midoriya, the son of All Might but stepson and half-brother of Izumi Yagi. Izuku Yagi was diagnosed quirkless, but what he and the others didn't know except his father and son, Dad Might O. 224K 5.1K. This is an O where Inko Midoriya marries Toshinori Yagi, or better known as All Might. Izuku Yagi is All Might's biological son, who inherited a stronger version of his. From what I found out while talking with Shimura, he's got a lot of practice with his quirk to know what I most likely can and can't do. Fundamentally speaking, you both are kinda the same, but he can control the weather. Though I can see what you're talking about. Way to make me feel more inferior to him than I already do. This comment made Kyoka laugh a bit before moving her face up to his. 1. He might be better than you from a quirk standpoint, has more skills than you, can handle more women than you. Are you trying to make me feel better, or are you trying to put me down? Because if you keep this up I might just have to punish you. The electric quirk user smirks before Kyoka gets to her point. But the end result is, I like you and I'd rather be with you over him. Shimura is nice and all, but he's way too nerdy for my taste. Denki smiled before having a small peck on his lips by Kyoka. Now, how about we relax in the water a bit? She was cut short hearing someone enter into the changing room through the door. 1. So Eri and Kota became good friends. Good for them. Izuku was heard for both young adults to mentally panic. They were so cute together. Especially when they tried to wrestle one another. Crap, the Shimuras are here. Denki silently shouted for Kyoka to look around for somewhere to hide. 1. Behind the rock. Behind the rocks. They tried to silently run as fast as they could behind something to see the three walk out naked and heading towards the washing area. At this moment, Kyoka realized she forgot her body wash over there to see Izuku pick it up. Shit. Little rocker. Never heard of that brand. Izuku says, reading over the bottle, realizing it also contains lavender in the smell. Maybe Mandalay or one of the pussycats bathe with the same brand Kyoka uses. Momo questions, remembering her friend uses the same brand name. I mean, I use this brand from time to time. Ochako says, causing Denki and Kyoka to breathe a sigh of relief from across the onsen. We can go behind the waterfall. Denki motions before dipping below the water and swimming to the waterfall, shortly followed by Kyoka. Due to how large it is, any noise their voices made was muffled. As they surfaced on the other side, they realized that they could not only not see through the water but also that there was a hidden pool behind the waterfall, private and silent due to the noise of the water. Helping her out of the water, Denki watches in satisfaction as the water slides off of Kyoka's naked body. Especially when he watches her walk past him towards the hidden pool, with her deliciously plump ass jiggling with each step she took. Without any shadow of a doubt, Kaminari was a man of class and a man of that ass. Man, that was good. I can't remember the last time I came that hard. Ochako smiled with her and Momo holding Izuku's chest while laying in the water. Though I don't like the thought of doing it in a public bath, the feeling was rather thrilling. You got that right. By the way, Denki, Kyoka, how long are you two going to stay in the waterfall? Both stiffened up hearing their names. I know you're back there, so might as well come out and save yourselves the embarrassment later. 2. The two accepted to walk out with Kyoka covering her chest and crotch while Denki did the same with his lower half. I have one question before we go any farther. When did you know we were here? Kyoka asks with Momo and Ochako smiling as if they knew as well. Hearing the claps of your ass probably. Denki, you're not helping. You think I wouldn't be able to feel your electricity? We're both walking power plants if you haven't guessed. Not to mention your electricity is negatively charged whereas mine is positively charged, i.e. the difference in color. I don't know if you've noticed, but there's a literal magnetic force wanting to pull us together as if we're fusing into Vegito from Dragon Ball. 1. So we'd be Denku or Izwenki. 3. Can you make that sound less disturbing after we've all been fucked in the ass by the two of you? Kyoka adds for her to walk over and hide herself in the water. So what do you want in exchange for your silence? Excuse me, you heard me. You most likely want something in exchange for staying silent, so what do you want? Money. Your chores done. A one night. I'm gonna stop you before you even finish that last one with I don't want anything in return and I sure as hell don't want an affair with you. No offense intended, but I like my wives' fine asses just as much as Kaminari likes yours. Gotta admit, I do think you have a rockin' ass. Probably better than mine. As for Izuku not wanting an affair, if he'd let me I'd tear that ass up. Kyoka. Kyoka gave Momo a silent stare at this with Kaminari hopping in the water beside her. He wrapped his arms around her in a concerned manner for the Shimura family to smile. 1. I think you'd have to go past him to do that, Momo. Didn't know you had a protective boyfriend, Kyoka. Ochako laughed with the five calming down and returning to their bathing. You should have seen him during the USJ when we got separated. After he realized that he was a human taser, he went a little overboard and fried the shit out of half a dozen thugs, and I'm pretty sure the chicken quirk one was completely cooked afterwards. When you learn to fry one villain, that doesn't faze you. Of course you'd say that. You should have seen what Izuku did to Overhaul. He went all out Palpatine on him, the unlimited POWAAAA thing from Star Wars, but I don't remember if he said that or not. Ochako questioned herself. I didn't. I thought it, but didn't cause that would have made things worse. Also, that wasn't the first villain I fried. Everyone was surprised to hear this, with Momo asking about this. Which number was overhaul? 46. Tartarus really had to clean house after a while due to the free rooms and fried human meat. Izuku laughed to scare everyone down to their cores. 1. Remind me to never get you pissed off, Kyoka said while somewhat using Denki as a human shield. Oh, calm down. Are you evil, a homicidal megalomaniac or villain, serial killer, rapist? No. Izuku snapped his fingers while pointing to Kyoka. Then I am not gonna use the brain fry move on you. The most you'll probably ever get is a shock from when I'm completely sleep deprived on days Eri just decides that night is an overrated time for sleep. Good to know, I think. The next day for Class A and B started out a little faster than the last. Since they didn't have to worry about being explained what's happening, most went to where they were training the day before. Sadly, this added more fatigue to those from the remedial classes since most weren't able to avoid these. Right now, Momo and Ochako were with Eri and Kota watching Izuku's training with Kaminari a safe distance away in a rubber dome. He's really putting Kaminari through the ringer, isn't he? Ochako said while being given sunglasses by Momo so she wouldn't have sight problems seeing the flashing lights from the electricity. Izuku wouldn't do anything he didn't think Kaminari wouldn't be able to handle. Dear God, this hurts. Somebody just kill me to get it over with. Quote. Well, we know Kaminari wouldn't be the first Izuku killed in regards to training. Da Bafuba, Sa Badge. Both Kota and Eri spoke in gibberish while playing with toy drums and xylophones. Oh dear God, shut up and take it like a man. My wives are willing to take worse than this pregnant. What's your excuse? The sight of an extremely huge flash happened to make the four feel like they were watching a movie happen. Is it me, or is Izuku going a little viscous on Kaminari? Ochako shrugged her shoulders before seeing a stray lightning bolt destroy the ground in front of their dome. Maybe a little. Shimura, you may want to calm down for now so we can talk to you, Kaminari and your wives for 2 minutes. Aizawa shouted on a bullhorn for Izuku to no longer use his electricity and show him completely unharmed, but his electric quirk using friend seeming like a burnt piece of charcoal. Geez, he doesn't show any form of restraint. Mandalay spoke up before grabbing Kota, who was crawling towards the barely conscious Kaminari. So what did you want to talk to us about? Well, Shimura Izuku, we actually had plans to make a test of courage tonight to give you all some incentive to get stronger. You'll be able to vent off some steam from training doing something fun. Ooh, I haven't done a test of courage since middle school. Oh, I remember those happy days with you, Izuku. Ochako reminisced on her days as a third year in middle school when her and Izuku were on a field trip together. Really does remind me of the past. Can somebody please at least put out the fire that's on me? Kaminari spoke up with everyone seeing his butt on fire from the electricity that was pulsing through him. Izuku gave a stomp to his flames with his non-conductive souls, making it look more like he was stomping on Kaminari specifically. Thanks. Well, we'll have to think of what to do with Eri since I don't want her to get scared by that. Aizawa thought for a second before Momo raised a hand. Yes. What's a test of courage? Wait, you serious? Izuku questioned. Yes. I never did a test of courage or whatever it is in middle school or high school. What is it? Both Izuku and Ochako knew Momo was sheltered as a child, but they didn't expect her to be this sheltered. To make a long explanation short, people go through the woods in hopes to show they're courageous in the middle of the night. You go through a set trail with some people doing jump scares to try and get you to run away. Kind of fun depending on who you're talking to or who's on what side. Oh. That does sound kinda fun. Ima, just take a nap first. And down he goes. Kyoka walking up to them says watching Kaminari fall face first into the grass before audibly snoring. Well, we'll let you get back to your training. This was all we wanted to say. Aizawa and Mandalay walk away with Kyoka being pulled into the rubber dome away from Izuku and Kaminari. Now, where were we? His hand started to show sparks again with a severe amount of electricity happening again. Ah, you cry like a bitch. Kyoka couldn't understand what was happening before being handed sunglasses to wear. Just what is this training supposed to do for the doofus? The five watched as another bolt of lighting shoot out and the sound of the blonde electric quirk user was heard. Dunno. Momo and Ochako replied to make Kyoka actually scared, this may kill Kaminari. Later that evening, after dinner and the Shimura family putting Eri to bed, the classes as a whole came in front of a forest path to do the test of courage. Unfortunately, the members of the remedial class excluding Kaminari, who has shown he has made progress by using Izuku's warping ability. Flawed as it may be, it was still progress forward with him. As such, he was allowed to enter into this while the four others that failed the exam in Class A and the one that failed in Class B were forced to return to camp. Alright, Class A will start first as our scarers. Class B will go in teams of 2 with one team going every 5 minutes. The scarers also have the ability to use their quirks to terrify the others. The team that has the most who come back with a tag saying they won will be the winner. Pixie Bob explains the rules the best she can, with Tiger getting in front to add one final bit. The winning team is the one that makes the most people piss their pants. Did we really need that image? Kyoka points out before being pulled over with Kaminari towards the forest by Izuku. Alright, you two are joining us. We'll scare the piss out of the most people in Class B. Again, TMI, Izuku is a monster. Kaminari muttered this, still releasing electricity from today's training. The group of Izuku, Ochako, Momo, Kyoka and Kaminari took the front half about midway towards the goal. Momo created small pressure buttons along the trail to cause rustling in the bushes, with Izuku placing Kaminari near their final spot in the corner, muttering to himself in fear. Things got a bit more uneasy when he started growing mushrooms around him. Okay, I think Kaminari's gonna be fine there for now. Let's go down what our plan for here will be. The three girls agreed while the blonde electric quirk user shuddered, feeling a small bit of static come by him. Few minutes later with Class B. Alright, up next is Miss Spooky and Lizard Girl. Pixie Bob shouted for Yanagi and Tokage to walk into the path. The two looked forward to see their classmates Komori and Tsunatori running for their lives back towards the entrance. Well, that was weird. Tokage turned back straight with her and Yanagi continuing through. So Reiko, you and the general studies guy. Yanagi ignored her friend while getting a text message from said insomniatic-looking man. Damn it, I can't answer him with you around. Why, you nervous? I'm gonna see something I shouldn't. What, did you send him nude pics or something? Tokage pulled her friend's phone from her to see previous messages and notice rather vivid conversations the night before with disturbing nudes that made the self-amputation quirk user stare at her friend. Quote, You dirty girl. Alright, that's enough of that. Also, can you not grope my butt? I'm groping your ass. You're the one that's getting touchy with my sexy tush. Tokage stopped seeing Yanagi's hands in front of her. You're not touching me. She turned around to see nobody there with the sound of something rustling beside them. Alright, we know you're there. Why don't you come out and A demonic dummy popped out of the bushes to spook Tokage and send her to the ground. Okay, that was kinda scary. The sound of moaning was heard for them to look around. Alright, that was impressive. Yanagi walked forward with Tokage joining her. The sound of moans and rustling happened around them. I have to admit, they're doing a really good job setting a mood of fear. Are you serious? This is fucking creepy. And I came out from the bushes for them to see in the corner of their eyes. When they turned to see it, the eye disappeared into the bush. What the hell? Alright, I'm actually getting a bit tingly from this. Are you insane? This is now getting scary. The two heard muttering to the corner and seeing Kaminari in a corner. Izuku is scary. Izuku is scary. Izuku is scary. This was all he repeated over and over again to walk near the front, only to see Kaminari's eyes rolled back into his head, only showing the bloodshot sclera. What the hell did Shimura do to him? They continued forward to see what looked like Ochako on a tree. What was scarier was the fact that Ochako was bloodied and hanging from the tree from a noose. Oh come on, can we at least see something not morbid? Well, we need to move past the tree, so let's get going. The two continued going through the trail before going right next to the tree. So I wonder if they used the real Ochako. Ochako moved her head up to show hollowed eyes and pale skin with blood dripping down her face. In actuality, Momo had created her a set of blackout sclera contact lenses and fake blood. Ochako topped this fear cake by making herself weightless and suspending herself in the air with a loosely tied noose courtesy of Hitoshi. Before anyone asks, no, he isn't suicidal as most the fandom thinks. His part-time job in the fall of the previous year was setting up props at a haunted house, which is why he knows how to make nooses. Ah, Tokage ran as fast as he could away from the area back towards the entrance. Ahahahaha. Kyoka, Izuku and Momo came out of the bushes with Ochako smiling with her, revealing her legs were tied down. Okay, so how did you do this, cause I'm really interested. Well, half of this is thanks to Ochako's and Momo's quirks. Momo made those little pressure steps that gave the jump scares, and Ochako is using her quirk to make her weightless. With my legs tied down and the noose tying I learned from your boyfriend, I can make it look like I was hung to death when in reality I'm just floating there. The other ropes were to make sure I didn't accidentally fly awa. I feel sick. Izuku used a bit of lighting to break the rope tied to the tree for Ochako to deactivate hers and fall into Izuku's arms. Okay, so that explains the rustling and the noose part, but who did the moaning and groped both me and Setsuna? Wait, you groped them? Ochako and Momo looked at their husband ready with pitchforks to fight. I was using static and it fooled their nerves into thinking something was touching them. Don't blame me for something that I didn't do on purpose. All I was trying to do was make their hair stand up. Kyoka walked up with Kaminari being dragged behind her. It was me that did the moaning. We had a few speakers around with the sound being my voice making a moaning sound while my jacks are connected to both a microphone and a speaker. Okay, but why is Kaminari like this? The girls pointed at Izuku without much care. He did it. Oh, that's righteous. Blame the guy that has enough power to light Kyoto and Tokyo for years. Izuku started to smell a very strange scent in the air and see several blue flames. That doesn't look good. He began activating his quirk to control the weather and produce heavy rain. Why are you making it rain? 1. I have a feeling tonight just got a bit crazier. Izuku grabbed Kaminari and moved it in the direction of where he smelled the strange scent before using his power to teleport directly towards the blonde electric quirk user. There you are. He sent a bolt of lighting at the person responsible for the sight of a man with a gas mask turning translucent to see his bones, happened with him falling to the ground. The dark-haired lighting quirk user landed in front of the boy who looked no older than a high schooler to smash his gas mask. Something tells me you're not immune to your gas. Now, let's see what else we have in store for tonight. Anke, a man with short blonde hair and a scar over his right eye, came charging at the two, ready to kill. You're a pretty tough kid. You must be that Izuku kid I heard about. Shame you and I gotta fight. Muscular. Izuku was unamused before holding his hand out with several bolts of lighting in it. I guess tonight I get to finally put you in the grave, you sadistic sociopath. Ah, you're just the brat I was looking for. Shimura Izuku. The Cyclopean villain grins, causing Izuku to laugh as more and more electricity begins to arc around the air. The boss wants you for something stupid. I'd much rather kill you than bring you to him. Oh, I do love fighting meat-headed villains like you, because you always seem to forget one key thing. You wanna know what that is, genius? Muscular scoffs at the sarcasm and remains silent before feeling every single muscle on his body suddenly contract and spasm from an unknown force. Muscles run on electricity and they put you against a living cyclone. Suddenly the white lightning in his hands shifts colors, turning red in a nanosecond. How many people have you killed? Let's add 10 million volts for every single innocent you murdered. Sticking his right hand out towards the incapacitated villain, torrents of red lightning explode from his fingers before stabbing into Muscular's body like flaming spiders hotter than the sun. The electricity arcs and cascades around the villain's body, causing him to scream in pain. You don't get to walk away. Dirty hero killer. Muscular's burned corpse fell to the ground, still smoking from having millions of bolts enter his body. His glass eye shattered, with it being the only hint who he was if one were to see what the villain is now. We should get back to everyone. I don't think these guys were alone. Gotcha. Izuku and Kaminari started running back, with the smell of burnt flesh being more prominent. How can you stand that smell, man? It's disgusting. You learn to live with it. Not wanting to ask any more, Kaminari just shut up and waited for them to return to the group. As they traveled back, Izuku couldn't help but have the unsettling feeling as if somebody was watching them. I don't like the feel of this. Out from the side, Izuku noticed a blonde come charging at Kaminari with a knife in her hand. Kaminari, get back. Grabbing him, Izuku threw the blonde electric quirk user to the side and took the butterfly knife to his side. Shimura, kinda a dumb thing to do. You just got a knife to your side cause you wanted to save your friend. I wonder what your blood looks like. The blonde stopped when she saw static come off the red fluid on the knife and immediately sent a shock to her, revealing her skeleton for both to see as she rambled gibberish in pain. She immediately was thrown back into a tree from the force of the current and knocked out cold. 1. She's not dead, right? 1. Fortunate for her, no. Izuku looked down where the knife was to know it wasn't good to leave in and was most likely gonna bleed out if the knife was removed and left alone. And this is the part where I hate the most of doing stuff like this. Pulling the knife out immediately, Izuku placed his free hand on the open wound to release a current over the opening and forcibly sear the injury shut. Mother, in. When he pulled his hand away, Kaminari noticed the burned area from the electricity to feel some relief that this didn't happen to him. Thanks a bunch, I owe you for that. Just get Ochako some high-quality mochi, pay for a nice tea for Momo as well as get a sack of red delicious apples for Eri to eat and we'll call it even. Send me the bill, man. The two laughed a bit before continuing back to the area with a message being given to them by Mandalay through her telepathy. Everyone, villains have infiltrated the camp. As of right now, the pro-hero Eraserhead has given you all authorization to use your quirks. Use them to defend yourselves against the enemies. Hopefully they'll count the muscular thing as me using my quirk in defense. Orange does not look good on a father. Who's gonna know the difference? The only people that actually know what happened are you, me and some burnt pile of what was a guy. And what do the two of you know that we don't? Momo spoke up with Jiro and Ochako beside her, somewhat irritated. You have 5 seconds to tell me what you did, Izuku, or you're not getting to grope Ochako's ass or touch my boobs for a week. 1. I fried muscular. Kaminari looked at him confused. What, you think I'm gonna give up grabbing a fine ass like Ochako's and groping those luscious mounds on Momo? The blonde tried to find a reason to argue before stepping away from the argument. 3. Alright, any chance we can head back? I don't wanna fight any villains or smell burned humans for a second time in my life. Ochako asks for the girls to agree. Alright, I'll go make sure everyone's okay while Kaminari takes you three back. He also promised to treat all of us to a little treat when we get back from camp. Wait, I said I'd take the bill for your wives and daughter, not you. Later, Izuku jumped away with the girls turning to Kaminari for answers. He took a knife for me. I offered to pay for the two of you and Eri something nice as a way to repay him. Ochako and Momo opened their eyes wide at this comment. He's okay now. He burned the cut shut. He's getting hell when he gets back. Both women stated about their husband before returning to the campsite. With Izuku jumped from tree branch to tree branch in hopes to find his classmates. When he came face to face with a giant monster of a shadow, he immediately made a giant flash of light for it to dull down and reveal Tokiyami, who was panting for air. My thanks, Shimura. Don't mention it. What happened to make you lose control though? Shoji came out of the bushes holding his hand that seemed to have one of his dupli arms severed. A villain attacked us and I was hurt in the process. Tokiyami went into a blind rage afterwards because I was hurt pushing him out of the way and Dark Shadow went ballistic. It pains me to say it, but I had let a moment of weakness come upon me. The bird-headed man held his head down before Izuku patted his shoulder. Don't put yourself down so badly, man. You lost control because you were scared for your friend who did get hurt. To me, that's not the worst way to lose control of your quirk. Turning to their notably taller classmate, Izuku made sure Shoji wasn't too badly hurt. While we're on the topic, you're gonna be okay, right? Yeah, think of my dupli arm like a tree branch. So long as my actual arm is still attached to my body, I can regrow it. It doesn't mean I don't feel pain when I'm faced with a dupli arm being severed. That still hurts. Good point. The sight of an ice glacier caught Izuku's attention for him to smile. Shoji, Tokiyami, head back to camp. I'm gonna get a little payback for the both of you for what this asshole over here did. Izuku jumped through the trees and towards the sounds to see Todoroki and Bakugo fighting a villain being suspended in the air by what looked like his teeth. Todoroki tried to attack the villain the best he could, with him evading the ice attacks one after the other. "You fucking asshole, fight us like a man. Sure, 'cause a villain will willingly fight you on level playing fields. Take a tip, Kachin, and think before you speak." Flesh. Beautiful flesh. The villain sent an attack at Izuku for him to dodge almost with no effort before sending a ball of electricity to the razor-like teeth to send a shockwave up into the man. "Sorry buddy, but you caused a circular pattern connecting down to the ground with your teeth, with these being strangely conductive." Izuku noticed the electricity go up and shock the villain before he collapsing on the ground with his teeth going dull as he fell. Oh, and by the way, Izuku went up to punch the teeth out of the villain and smile. "That was for Tokiyami and Shoji. You really know how to show no mercy. I don't know if I should be proud or happy about that." Todoroki walked towards Izuku with Bakugo scoffing. "I could have handled that fine on my own, without destroying the forest in the process." "Up yours." Izuku laughed a bit at Bakugo's comment, with Todoroki thanking Izuku. "I appreciate the backup. Everyone needs it from time to time. You both were by Ragdoll at the midway, right?" Todoroki nods for the lightning quirk user to think about what's happening. "I'm gonna go give her backup and hopefully make it so we can help move our classmates closer and to strengthen the protective area we can." "Like you're taking the spotlight again." "I'm coming with you." Izuku stopped Bakugo with a karate chop to the back of the neck to knock him out. "Sorry Kachin, but you're at a disadvantage here. At least with me, I can manage the problems I have better." Izuku took a running stance before looking back. "Tell Mr. Aizawa I'm going to help with the roundup on Ragdoll's side." In a flash of lightning, Izuku bolted to the midway part with intentions to help end this mayhem. Heading to the center point, Izuku looked around trying to find the Cat Pro. "Ragdoll, most of the students are on their way back to the campgrounds. I'm here to help you out on your end." Izuku walked past the shrine that they were using to not find Ragdoll at all. "Ragdoll." The sound of footsteps came from the side for the electric quirk user to look and see Ragdoll unconscious being held by a man in a suit. His senses were on edge, especially due to the sight of the headpiece the pro was wearing on the ground with a bit of blood around. Seems I have an uninvited guest to this. Hello young man, you must be that woman's son." Izuku saw the man turn to show a face piece with tubes going into his chest for him to know exactly who this man was. "All for one, you know who I am. That saves some time and effort. I'm only going to say this once, let Ragdoll go and take your villains you sent here out now or else." The villain laughed at Izuku while responding. "You honestly think you can win? I'd like to see what you can do." "Your funeral." Izuku started generating several thousand volts of electricity to be held in his hands. "Take this, Oj von Zeus." The bolt came directly at the pro for him to hold Ragdoll's unconscious body in front as a shield before seeing the electricity make a half circle around her and hit AFO right in the metal plate on his head. This brought the villain back a bit for Izuku to use his electromagnetism to pull Ragdoll near him and away from danger. "You should have left when you had the chance. I'm on a completely different league than my mother and brother." "So it would seem." AFO stood up with electricity coming off his body in a similar fashion to what Izuku does. "You truly are a very powerful one. I guess that weakling Nana Shimura and her even weaker husband made something worthwhile with the gift she had been given." "Keep my mother's name out of your fucking mouth." Izuku gritted his teeth while holding his hand up ready to attack. But then again, that foolish brother of yours is just as much a weakling as them. Could you believe he started at 0 before even achieving OFA? How pathetic he must be. Perhaps that's why I was so easily beaten by someone the quirk was wasted on." Shut up. Izuku let a bolt of lightning out at immense speeds for AFO to hold one hand up. Electromagnetic repulsion. The attack sent an electric wave back at Izuku's for the act to push him back a bit. "Adorable this truly is. The quirk I just used was the same your father had. Compared to most quirks, this one is quite useless unless you have an opponent with electricity to rebound back. I'd laugh if the fact your father's quirk is your natural opposite wasn't so pathetic." "Oh what the heck, ahahaha." Izuku finally lost his cool and activated OFA with his electricity quirk to send a huge amount of electricity towards the villain. In response, AFO activated the electromagnetic repulsion to force the electricity back. You son of a bitch. What gives you the right to insult my family and think you can get away with it? Izuku started forming a storm above him with electricity striking him to increase the lightning power he had as well as make a small funnel cloud to try and pull AFO off the ground. This did little as he used an air pressure attack to send a spiraling wave of wind in the opposite direction to dispel it. Both continued to increase the lightning they were using for a mass of electricity to form between them. What gives me the right? Your family is nothing but weaklings after weaklings. Your mother wouldn't be half the hero she was if it wasn't for OFA, All Might wouldn't be a hero to begin with. Even your quirk would pale in comparison if OFA wasn't inside your mother before you were born. Widening his eyes a bit, Izuku holds a bit of surprise at him finding this out. Yes, I knew all along about you. You're quite the powerful holder of the quirk. Not even All Might could have done a better job. But you're still no match for me. The ball of electricity grew bigger and bigger until it was larger than both men. I won't let you win. The electric orb ruptured to create a massive shockwave that sent both Izuku and AFO in completely different directions. To help avoid injury, Izuku grabbed Ragdoll and used his back as a way to avoid serious damage to him or the pro. Hitting 3 trees and shattering 2, Izuku grunted in pain before looking up to see AFO facing a similar problem. Quote. My, you're quite a powerful one. You almost ended me there if I wasn't cautious and destroyed that ball of electricity when I did. Izuku tried to stand, but felt his body unable to move so easily. Damn it. Did the shockwave increase the effects of my drawback? AFO walked over to Izuku with his top half of his mask blown off. And I thought you were gonna be an ugly motherfucker before, but this is ridiculous. Joke all you want, but you are weak right now with no ability to do anything to stop me. Now, we'll end this once and for AFO knelt in pain holding his chest in agony. It seems we will have to prolong the results of this battle. Never has a holder of my brother's quirk given me an actual heart attack. He created a portal leaving for an unknown location before looking back at Izuku. I won't fall back next time, boy. So be prepared for our next encounter. 1. He leaves into the portal for Izuku to feel a bit of shock. Yeah. You better run. You bitch, He pants recovering from their bout. If he didn't have problems, I might have actually been a goner there. Call that shit lucky. Izuku lays back for a moment looking at the sky. Just need a minute to catch my breath. The electric quirk user passes out with the madness of the night finally over. Izuku started waking up the next morning feeling extremely groggy while in Heights Alliance's common space. The hell happened last night? You passed out in the middle of the forest for some reason that we don't know, and because you went the lone wolf act, me and Ochako put you on the sofa instead of in a bed as punishment. Momo stated while reading a book on the chair beside him. Could you at least show a little sympathy for me? I mean, that was kinda an insane night, and fight for that matter. Our sympathy was dragging your unconscious body here ourselves and giving you that blanket to keep from getting cold. Neither me nor Ochako agreed with you going out on your own weight. You too. Who did you end up fighting that left you like that? The man who can steal quirks. Momo closed her book hearing this, knowing right off the bat this was all for one. What happened after I left you girls? Also, how bad is the damage? Awase and I were attacked by a 4-armed chainsaw-wielding Nomu. That was a headache in more than one way. Momo says, lifting her hair up revealing bandages around her head. 1. Holy crap. You okay? Izuku jumped out of bed to make sure his wife wasn't too badly hurt. I'm fine. I created a shotgun for the first time and had Awase barrel stuffed the monster. I've already showered twice after getting covered by what was left of its brain after Awase shot it. Izuku's face contorts thinking of how gross that would have been. It was just as gross as you're probably thinking, and it reeked, the most foul-smelling thing I've ever had the misfortune of smelling. On the bright side, I can make guns now so Nomu won't be as much of a problem. The kryptonite to undead multi-quirked monsters. Shoving the business end of a freedom tube, as All Might would call it, down their gullet. The two remained silent after this before Izuku asked about everyone else. Who also got hurt during the attack? Some Class B students got the joy of being knocked out by the gas. From what I'm told, Hagakuri was one of our only classmates who was hurt by that. Shoji lost one of his dupli arms before Dark Shadow went on a rampage, and Pixie Bob has a bad head wound like I do. What about Ragdoll? She didn't look in the best shape when I found her. Couple of gashes, a broken leg and a minor concussion from what we can tell. She'll have to stay off her leg for a few weeks easily and is confined to a wheelchair for now. But if you found her when you were fighting AFO, there's a good chance you saved her career as a hero. From what I was told of All for One, when someone has their quirk ripped from them, it leaves them in a comatose state for God knows how long. The victims my mother saw of this ability were taken off life support because their MRI scans came back with no brain activity. If she's talking and moving, then more than likely she didn't have it stolen. Both felt some solace knowing this wasn't going to happen before they heard Korine and Mushu come charging down the stairs with Ochako holding Eri in her arms. Good to see you're up. There was a bandage over Ochako's shoulder for Izuku to see it and go pale. It's not as bad as it looks, Izuku. Mr. Aizawa stopped the villain that did this before it became serious. He did get me a little and burned my arm, but it's nowhere near as bad as you'd think. Eri started reaching for her father for him to pick her up and hold her in his arms. If anything, you're probably the worst off out of all of us. You look like someone got struck by every lightning bolt in the same storm all at once. Not to mention you haven't even noticed the bandages all over your hands. Izuku glanced down to see his fingers and hands wrapped, looking as if he was part mummy from the amount on them. This was done by All for One who attacked the camp, maybe as punishment for us taking down Shigaraki. Or, he was trying to find someone in particular, or a quirk. I'm guessing it was either Ragdoll's search quirk, or mine, and I still have both of mine, and Ragdoll I believe still has hers. Izuku mumbles to himself in thought, but the girls still somehow understand him. Either way, you Mom and All Might wanted to talk to you. They're right now waiting in the teachers' dorms if you wanna head over there. Ochako states this before a growl came from her to make the brunette blush. Let's have breakfast first. Immediately after saying this, Izuku's stomach growled for Eri to laugh hysterically at this. Yeah, breakfast sounds like a smart idea first. An hour later, after making a rather large breakfast and sitting down to eat, Izuku washed up a bit and headed out towards the faculty dorms. Once there, the door was opened by his mother who let him in. Inside, Izuku noticed Toshinori on the sofa looking over some information with Toseki in his arms. Good to see you're finally up, Izuku. Now we're waiting on Tsukauchi to get here. Just like that, the door opened to the detective for all of them to circle around information that they had. Alright, let's go over what we have at the moment as far as AFO goes, as well as the origin of the league. Tsukauchi started off with reading off what they had. For the most part, the world doesn't know anything about AFO and his battle with All Might all those years back. This was thanks to the Hero Board pulling most of the information out of this, so only a handful of people actually know of there being a said incident. Since that day about 5 years ago, he has stayed for the most part silent for us to almost believe he did die. Tsukauchi stopped for Nana to continue. Though that obviously is not the case, since we clearly know the monster known as Nomu attacked the USJ this year with a man known as Tamura Shigaraki and another villain called Kurogiri in an attempt to kill All Might. With that said, AFO was most likely the main cause of how that was created. Going back to its genetic structure, the Nomu seemed to have a baseline of its DNA connected to a low-ranking criminal that went missing almost a year prior to the incident. This can lead us to believe the villain that was used as the starting point for the Nomu was killed and or kidnapped before being used in said experiment. After that, the next incident with the Nomu was in Hosu City. This was added with the incident regarding the hero killer. Tsukauchi took the lead again. After an interrogation with Stain, we discovered they did have a slight mutual agreement to work side by side. The Nomu however had nothing to do with him. Since he passed a polygraph test, we are safe to assume he was telling the truth. I can tell you though for certain those weren't nearly as powerful as the one that attacked the USJ. Izuku put his 2 cents in from witnessing the power of the second Nomu attack firsthand. Maybe in order to complete the one at the USJ, AFO needed more time than he had with the other three. We should also avoid ruling out that the baseline for the other one was more suitable for whatever he did, but you also shouldn't avoid the belief that he had a quirk that alters someone's molecular structure. Izuku continued his mutter spree for Toseki to try and reach for the mutter kanji before being smacked back to reality by his mother. Izuku, you were doing it again. Sorry. Getting back on topic with the chain of events, we also have the matter at the Kashiok shopping district where we were able to apprehend Shigaraki. The investigation into his origin has told us that his actual name was Tenko Shimura, son of both Kotaro and now Shimura, and disappeared almost 15 years ago. Shit. Mother, Mom. Izuku and Toshi both stated while the latter held Toseki's ears. Sorry, it's just, didn't expect my brother and his wife's name to come up. This raised everyone's eyebrow for her to explain. When we were younger, my brother was kinda spiteful with heroes. We lost our parents because of a villain attack and he blamed the heroes for it. He didn't take much joy in knowing I was going to UA to become a pro, and we kinda lost contact after that. I heard he got married and had kids, and that was all I heard until you were about 4, Izuku. It was at this point that there was an accident and the remains of him, his wife, his daughter and in-laws were found dead, turned to what appeared to be dust. Tenko's body, Tsukauchi asked, never found. Since he was about 4, we kinda assumed he died since nobody found him and he was too young to take care of himself, right? Sigh, if only I knew. Maybe I could have stopped and fixed Tenko's path before it went to this. Toshi gave a pat on his mother's shoulder as a bit of reassurance. Your brother didn't want you in his life, there's no way you could have known or done something about this. We're where we are right now, but we've avoided a worst outcome with Tenko being forced to fight us thanks to Izuku's quick thinking. Nana nodded in understanding. There could have been a worse outcome where they had to have done the unthinkable with Tenko, or he would do the unthinkable to his remaining family. Getting back on track, I'd like to ask you a little of what you know in regards to the attack that happened at the training camp. Tsukauchi asked Izuku for him to remember everything about it he could think of. From what I remember, a large portion of villains they used were middle-tier villains this round, not as powerful in the underworld as you'd expect but still stronger than the back-alley criminals that were in the USJ attack. The strongest there was Muscular and Moonfish, who the latter was captured. And the other was turned to crispy bacon by you. Izuku laughed a bit at Nana's comment. That would explain the red lightning I saw from between the trees. What would have gotten you so mad to the point your lightning turns red? Aizawa asks, walking into the room. He was a serial hero killer, having killed the pro-hero team of Water Hose as well as hundreds of civilians and heroes alike. When I disintegrated Overhaul, the lightning was its normal whitish blue color, but that was in self-defense. This was an execution. That's an understatement. With how burnt he looks, it looks as if you poured enough electricity to kill the entire human race into that one poor sod. He won't be missed. 4. Getting back on what I could remember from the night, AFO wanted me and was also taking the pro-hero Ragdoll. I stopped him, but I couldn't actually beat him per se. Toshi came forward with Toseki gumming his finger before asking, what do you mean? I only succeeded in pushing him away because of him having some difficulties. He said I was the only one for all user that has ever succeeded in giving him an actual heart attack. I hit him directly in the chest with a bolt of lightning when he was monologuing, so that might have caused it. He did also have an electricity quirk, but it was a repulsion effect and not an emitter. Hearing this, Nana gripped her fist in anger. The son of a bitch. Using my husband's quirk on my son. One for all coursed through Nana for sparks to come out of her in anger. She calmed down a bit before getting her power under control. Anyway, AFO underestimated you last time. I doubt he's gonna think so lightly about you again and treat you as an actual threat. Regardless of this, the Heroes Commission is initiating a raid on 2 locations. One from where one of your classmates had attached a transmitter on a Nomu that ran rampant in the camp, and a second being a place we believe is the League's official hideout. We had an informant on the inside and he helped attack your training camp. The commission also wants you to be leading the charge for the one on the Nomu factory. Chances are high that AFO will be here and we'll need someone that beat him once there. Meanwhile, Paragon and All Might will lead the charge at the League's hideout. The infiltrator said that there will be a meeting with them on how to break Shigaraki out of prison in 2 days during the evening. We also plan to give a conference on the ordeals of the attack during this to throw the villains off guard. Sounds like it'll work, but who's the informant so we know not to be as rough with them? Tsukiyuchi tossed a file over to show a man covered in scars with white hair. His name is the cremation hero, Sekitangara. He's the first double-agent class hero that the commission has trained and approved of. Not only that, he is Endeavor's oldest son. Under the villain I'll use, Dabi. Aizawa added for them to look at him. I fought a clone of him before. Crazy firepower like that has to be related to a pro with similar strength. Not only that, but he gave me a file with a second clone that attacked stating that this was their information as well as everything he had on AFO's allies and the underworld factions. This took him nearly his entire career starting almost a decade ago to collect. But we'll be able to take out several members of underground villain groups as well as the League very quickly that are slowly coming back into power. Izuku nodded seeing the information about the raid. This is good, we might actually win this. But I do have a question, why separate me and my family? This is a precaution. If by some chance we can't collect AFO after this, we need to make sure our agent can stay in the League in case the worst outcome happens. The dark-haired electric quirk user nodded. Alright, just tell me what I need and I'll get that done by the mission. I'll send a list of information to Nezu where you need to go. For now, just keep this a secret from everyone until the raid starts. Just as we have an eye and ear in the League, AFO could just as easily have 1 or 2 in this school. Understood. The meeting between the group ended with Izuku heading back to Ochako and Momo. As he did, his mind kept focused on the matter at hand. This ends now AFO. I'm going to show you that the next generation of heroes will put an end to your cycle soon enough. Entering into an area where he was ordered to wait on standby, Izuku along with Nana and Toshinori walked into the room with Tsukiyuchi waiting beside Endeavor and several other pro heroes. Here, the blonde pro had brought his mother and younger brother towards the flame hero and investigator for them to discuss some ordeals. All Might, would you mind telling me why I got a call today saying how my oldest son who I believed was dead for about 15 years now was said to be part of the League of Villains as a spy? Well, it's quite a story. But young Sekitangara had his reasons for not saying anything. Now angered, Endeavor grabbed All Might by his costume's collar and held him up. What the hell happened to refuse to say anything about my son being alive for 15 years? Endeavor, I need you to calm down now. Tsukauchi asked for the flame hero to glare towards him. Nothing was said because this was part of your son's conditions as well as some other things for this matter. Endeavor loosened his grip with Tsukiyuchi pulling out a paper. What I am about to read is Tsuya Todoroki's testimony for what he had witnessed in his time as your son. This is quite a long one, so you may wish to have a seat. Everyone did as asked for Tsukiyuchi to start. This will begin around the start of Tsuya's life at 6. From a young age, I was always looked at as someone that will surpass my father. Because of this, I had worked hard to control my quirk to some degree with a single visit to the doctors changing this all. 20 years ago, Tsuya Pa. I'm sorry sir, but it looks like your son won't be able to be a hero. Why? He has a powerful quirk. Not only that, but his flames are strong enough to match mine. I don't see the problem. My father didn't know what to believe as the doctor went over just why this isn't possible. I'm not saying his quirk isn't amazing as and chances are, it still has room to grow. But this goes with the old theory known as the quirk doomsday theory as we in the field call it. Basically, Tsuya is among the rare few with quirks where their body was born and created with a different format where the quirk isn't compatible with him. When he uses his flames, the boy hurts himself unlike you who would normally be able to shrug it off after a small flare. This is because where his quirk genes evolved to have him hold your quirk, his body took an alternate route to have a body more adequate for a quirk relating to your wife's quirk in a way. As such, it pains me to say that your son will never become a pro hero because of this. These words hurt me to hear, but they enraged my father. As such, he became more violent at home. Ignored me at every turn and would say whenever we did exchange words that I was a failure from the start. What hurt the most however was my mother. Because she was forced into a quirk marriage, I could only watch as she was forced to hold my brothers and sisters with no regard to her own life. For 6 years, I watched my family be born and forced to be called failures, as I was. That is, until Shoto was born. When he came along, Dad made sure to keep him confined along with Mom. I couldn't take watching this much longer, so I began doing the one thing I thought was impossible from the start. I was going to be a hero that could surpass All Might like Dad wanted Shoto, me and our siblings to be. 10 years later, they say when you grow up and mature, things you believed were normal about you become very different. That was my case with my flames. As I tried to train to become more powerful with them, they changed in both heat and color. Where they were once red and orange, they were now a solid light blue and far more powerful than they were originally. This was where I thought I could do it. I could go to my father and get him to leave our family alone. Give Shoto a life that doesn't have to be one of a hero. Once I went to Dad to ask him to watch me though, he gave a similar statement he normally did. Why would I pay attention to a defective child such as you? These words came to me again for it to do nothing but anger me. If you have all this time playing the game of trying to be something you know you can't, then why not do something more worthwhile instead of this idiotic notion you have? Now your little brother Shoto on the other hand, he has the strength to do things you can only dream of. All he needs is a little training and... So you're just going to leave me and give all your attention to Shoto regardless to if he wants to be a hero or not? Quote. This gained my father's attention for me to argue with him. For years I watched and played the silent game for you to do what you want. Mom is going insane because you keep her locked up in this house with her only form of communication with others being you and Shoto. Natsuo and Fuyumi barely even see either of them and you are in no way a father to us. I was struck by him across my face with his anger being what got the better of him. You little brat, how dare you insult what I have done for this family? I have given your brother purpose. Your mother is needed to be secluded to raise him. You think you and your defective siblings are worth a shred of my time. If we're so defective, then why are we part of your family? Is it because you're scared we'll tell somebody what type of man you are behind closed doors? I was punched in the face after this by my father with Mom walking in to see this. Chuya, don't go near him. Mom wanted to help, but was clearly afraid of Dad. I don't know where you got the nerve to talk back to me like that, but another outburst like that and you're no longer welcome in this family. Understand me? I got up while wiping some blood off the corner of my cheek before walking out. Fine then, who wants to be part of this broken family to begin with? If you have the guts to see what I can really do as a failure, I'll be in the mountain until tomorrow. After that, I'm gone from this family and will never call you father again. I was mad, I was angry, but in the end, I never felt more happy to say what I wanted to say to Endeavor. On paper, he seems like an amazing hero. Solved the most cases compared to any pro hero and is the number 2 through his own efforts. However, he was no top pro as an actual person. He wasn't even a hero. It sickened me that someone like him was a hero, but that didn't change what I wanted to do. I was going to be a hero no matter what. Later that evening, I constantly waited for my father to find me in the mountain sometimes, for nobody to come. I sat waiting and waiting for nobody to come. All that I had was the dark night to keep me company. I soon came to the dark reality of the world. Heroes aren't heroes in this day and age. How sad things are here, son. Pro heroes are nothing like you planned them to be. I glanced towards the source of the voice to see a man sitting on a stump smiling at me. Who are you? It's not important. I am simply a man that wishes to show the truth to the world to others. Forget it. I don't want your help. Same it is truly. All you wish for is your family's love and attention while also trying to help them. Meanwhile, all your father sees you as nothing more than a defect that shouldn't have been born. Shut up. I feel for you. I truly do. People like you are a true tragedy in this world that are discarded for the most frivolous of reasons. A shame that potential of yours isn't given to what it can truly be used for. I was on the verge of losing my patience to this guy before he said what he wanted. Join my group and we can put an end to the world you see that has ridiculed you, persecuted you, exiled you. I finally lost my temper at this to send a blast of fire his way. RRAAAAHHHH. The blast missed him and lit some trees on fire for me to panic. No. No 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 no. I tried quickly to find some way to put the flames out with throwing dirt or snow that was on the ground to put it out before it got bigger. Sadly, this didn't work with the fire surrounding me and the man. See this, boy, drink it in. This is the chaos that you had created. You were born to destroy this world. This was an accident. This has nothing to do with me wanting to destroy anything. Accident or not, this was your doing. I ignored the man to try and stop the fire with it burning my body on several parts before seeing him walk away through a portal. We will meet again, boy. I hope when we do, you're more forthcoming. The portal closed with my body feeling numb from the fire and the lack of air making it hard for me to stay awake. Am I gonna die tonight? I started to cry, feeling the overwhelming pain of what was going to happen rear its ugly head. I don't wanna die. I faded out of consciousness with a bulky man that I thought was All Might landing near me. I blacked out shortly after with everything else becoming a blur. Back to present, third person POV. After this, Chuya had woken up in a hospital that All Might had brought him to. Once there, he explained everything with us and the hero board making a deal with him. Tsukiyuchi explained before staring at Endeavor. The deal was that he'd become our spy if you were watched and made sure you wouldn't harm his family. We were about to arrest you after the incident with your wife being brought into a mental hospital for the records showing she had a mental breakdown. The only reason we didn't was because it would raise too many red flags immediately so early in Chuya's undercover work. As such, you walked from that. However, you will be brought up on forms of neglect that we have by witness testimonies of your eldest son and second eldest. This comment soured Endeavor even more than he already was. I remained quiet for all of this because young Chuya didn't want to hurt his family more. His objective was to have the world think he was dead in order to make it easier to infiltrate AFO's underground ring. Thanks to him, we have all the information for every person who did business with him, every doctor, even where to find some allies in foreign countries. Do not get me wrong, Endeavor. I do not like the fact I have to bring you in after this, but it is the right thing. If you want to at least hold some respect for yourself, you'll come voluntarily once this mission is over. Endeavor remained silent with Nana chiming in. I may have made mistakes with Toshinori and Izuku when they were younger, but I let them be who they wanted to be. I was never obsessed with them surpassing me and allowed them to build the path they wanted themselves. I have no pity for you as a parent and a pro, so you should keep that in mind. Izuku started to stand after this to walk towards Endeavor. In one go, he punched the flame hero in the face with his own, showing one clearly irritated. I think Todoroki and his siblings at least deserve that. I'll have your back on this mission, but only until the job's done. When that's over, turn yourself in or I'm coming for you. The police came in to ask the pros to head out with the Shimura family doing that. As they left, Izuku kept his mind focused on what needed to be done. First AFO, then Endeavor. As the pros had begun their beginning phases of the raid, the remaining members of the league merged together in the bar they held. Most were extremely irritated, with others still having some issues with what they faced from Izuku. Currently, Spinner was in fumes knowing he had been beaten with Muscular not even posing a threat. Just how strong is this one kid? Heck if I know. Dabi stated while remaining calm knowing the raid will happen momentarily. He did however look towards Toga to notice her extremely out of it. Is she okay? She's been very lethargic after an attack by Izuku Shimura had sent her flying into a tree. I attempt to speak with her, but she seems unable to respond right away. When she does, she doesn't act like she knows me, however. Maybe the kid caused nerve damage that resulted in memory loss. Granted, the kids had a crappy upbringing up till now, that could work in her favor and get her probation. Dabi finished his drink of scotch before noticing a TV in the room go to audio only. It seems we are in quite a predicament. Master. Everyone turned their attention to the screen except for Toga, who was falling asleep. Well, it seems the heroes are on the move, trying to gather forces to take us down once and for all. That's quite a problem for us. We can handle them. Twice spoke up, contradicting himself as AFO continued. From what I had gathered, the heroes have implanted a spy in our group. This spy has been with us for quite some time and is sending feedback on our every move to the heroes. Even now, He is transmitting a signal to the heroes telling the exact location you are in now. Dabi held the transmitter in his pocket in unease knowing he might have been found out. However, he did hold an ace that he was hoping did the trick. He planted a false transmitter on his colleague Compress in hopes to keep the heat off him. Sorry Compress, but I have a job to do. It's nothing personal, but you were the one I could put it on easily. So who is the spy? Compress asked for a small chuckle to be on the other side of the screen. You will see momentarily. I have dispatched a Nomu to come to your location to kill the spy and only the spy. Crap, I didn't want someone to actually die for this. If I do something now, it'll blow my cover. But if I don't, someone's blood's gonna be on my hand. For now, I just gotta hope that the Nomu gets here after the heroes start the raid here to act in confusion. As Dabi thought this, a black sludge began appearing behind him with a Nomu coming out and trying to attack Dabi. He dodged this and noticed it was going solely after him, so he knew which one was the real one and which was the decoy. The double agent jumped back with the monstrous beast charging to attack before having its head incinerated by Dabi's flames. When the smoke cleared, the Nomu's head was completely burned off with the group staring at Dabi. Nicely done, Dabi. Quite the performance you've given us. Then again, I should probably call you Sekatangara. The cremation hero. Spinner, Compress and Twice began circling Dabi with AFO explaining what he knew. It's truly funny knowing how long you thought we were unaware of who you truly were. Both me and Kurogiri knew for quite some time that you were a pro hero working in the underground. Really been blowing smoke up your ass for years and you figure it out only fast enough to handle this now. Here I thought it was your face that was the only thing baked about you. Dabi mocks with a smirk on his face. Oh, we knew all along. In fact, I knew probably 3 days into working with me that you were a spy. No skin off my nose, but there's one thing that I know and can do that you don't know. He says backing into the corner against the barstools and bar. And what's that, traitor? Spinner asks. Where there's fire, there's smoke. Slamming his hands on the table, Dabi suddenly combusts it into a cloud of thick black smoke clogging the air in the villains' throats. A chorus of coughing and wheezing as the smoke stings their eyes and lungs. Dabi used this as an opportunity to transform himself into the smoke and flee using the ventilation system. However, as he was leaving, he looked down and noticed Toga unable to do anything as the smoke filled her lungs as well with nobody able to help her. Damn it, I'm gonna kick myself later for going back for her, but she can't hurt anyone right now in the state she's in nor can she defend herself. Transforming back into his normal self, Dabi used a rag he had to keep the smoke from bothering him while taking a second to cover Toga's mouth. I can't turn into smoke with her, guess we're gonna have to use the front door. The two went towards the door with a knife coming at the hidden crow and narrowly missing. You think this little parlor trick is gonna work for long? Spinner shouted as the ventilation immediately brought the smoke out of the room with Kurogiri smothering the fire. Now you're gonna pay for raiding us out. Weighing his options, Dabi tried to think of what he could do. Okay, so I was a traitor from the start. Then again, I doubt that you could call it me being a traitor since I was never actually working with you to begin with. You idiots are at a clear disadvantage against me here anyways. They should be here soon. For now, I just gotta keep stalling for time until the others get here. How long do you think it'll take to cook the lizard, or raise the temperature so hot magnets don't work anymore? I'll tell you what you're gonna do. Unless you don't want me to show you why I'm called a walking crematorium. You're going to fuck off and let us leave. And what makes you so certain that we don't have a countermeasure against you? You got us with our pants down, man. Twice spoke up for a small sound to make Dabi smirk. This. Knock knock pizza delivery. Who the fuck ordered a? 5. Smash. The wall to the bar was open to reveal All Might to send the villains for a loop. All Might. Before anyone could react, Kamui Woods came into the room to trap everyone with edge shot incapacitating Kurogiri. Damn. These are too tight. Yeah, harder daddy. 7. Took you long enough. Dabi spoke up with All Might coming over with a large hat and a black overcoat that was more well made than the one Dabi had on. We apologize for the late arrival. I'll say. Dabi responds snapping his fingers and lighting a cigar protruding from his mouth. You forgot my pizza too. Are we seriously having this conversation? Edgeshot asked with some police coming over to help apprehend the villains. Hey you. Dabi spoke up to a policeman and tossed him toga. She doesn't seem to be dangerous at the moment and isn't responding so well. Make sure she's okay and nothing bad happened to her. Yes sir. Dabi changed his overcoat and placed his hat on before walking over to AFO's screen. He took the cigar out of his mouth to let out a little smoke and smile. You lose, freakbag. You just lit your own funeral pyre. Oh, do I now? I think you don't realize that everything up till now has been planned for. You see, I'm the type of man that thinks of every little tangent I can. Where one plan fails, I always have a backup option. This little ordeal is nothing but a small setback. The real prize to be claimed here lies in the second half of this raid. AFO's phrasing confused everyone as he continued. Tell me, All Might, why would I allow a traitor to continue to work under me knowing that he will one day bring forth heroes to face me? The answer is, it was to bring you and your family to me. I may have been unable to defeat Nana Shimura and yourself, but a certain boy you know is still fresh to facing me with you being the only other member of those that stand against me actually capable of overpowering me. This was all a ploy from the very beginning. You, the League, Shigaraki, even Sekatangara's joining. None of it was done without formulating a plan of action. I hope you're ready, All Might. For tonight I sever this fruitless battle between you and your family with me. Several different black blobs came out of nowhere with Nomu holding very abnormal features compared to the ones faced prior coming out. All Might, these things are high ends. Get back. Without warning, the high ends immediately killed the villains in the room by crushing their skulls to give a chilling fear in everyone's soul. Get back. Dabi immediately started battling them with All Might tagging in while the remaining crows in the room acted as defense for the police to leave. 2. Young Sekatangara, just what are these things? Nomu that were produced with a more tactful aspect than the one that your brother faced at the USJ. Not only can they think for themselves, but they also have more dangerous quirks and are able to fight with changing tactics no different than a pro hero. One attempted to attack Dabi with him sending out a wave of flames for the high end to protect its head and try to react back. What is all for one's plan? From what he said, he's scrapped taking one for all or whatever the heck that quirk your brother has and will kill both him and your mother before taking you out. This statement left Toshinori speechless as his brother and mother are targeted right now and are going to be facing a nightmare. For now, we gotta do something about most of these, so warn me when the cops are out and take those two with you. I'll make it so these things don't live long. With Izuku and Nana, as the raid on the League's hideout went, the second half of Crows with Izuku and Nana leading the charge began raiding what they believed was the Nomu factory. The monsters began attacking out of tankers they had with MT. Lady and Best Genist handling them relatively quickly to incapacitate while Izuku shot single rounds to the head with his lightning to end the monsters. These things are so gross. Mount. Lady shouted for Nana to roll her eyes. Not every mission is clean. You should know that already. Nana walked around the room to see it rather unkempt for a lab made to make biological humanoid weapons. This is too easy. If I know AFO as well as I do, he'd never make things this simple to do without reason. Going towards Izuku, Nana explained to her son to be wary. Keep an open eye out. Something doesn't sit right with me right now. The silence in the room brought upon apprehending all the Nomu and defeating them was quickly changed to the sound of clapping. Well done. Simply well done to you both Nana and Izuku Shimura. And to you heroes as well to take down my lesser Nomu in such a timely manner. I couldn't have planned this better if I tried. Knowing the sound of the voice, Izuku's blood went cold knowing it was none other than the villain mastermind himself. All for one. It's nice to see you both are well. A shame that ends here. Feeling the overwhelming presence the man was giving, Genist tried to bind AFO's limbs with the fibers of the suit he had on for both Nana and Izuku to know this wasn't going to work long. Everyone, get out of here now. Before Nana could finish her sentence, a massive shockwave to obliterate the entire entrance of the building and some streets. The smoke that covered the area hid all that was shown to the world outside of the outcome to this strike. The only thing that was heard however was the clapping of hands to have some smoke die down and give an image of AFO floating above all with his hands clapping in a satisfied manner. Well done Izuku Shimura. Well done. If it wasn't for your quick thinking, this wouldn't be fun in the slightest. Thank you for allowing me to be entertained further. The smoke died down to show Izuku with his fist raised holding both OFA and his electricity pulsing through his arm. Thanks to his quick thinking, the electric quirk user was able to block the attack on the pro heroes and divert the force upwards to make a small section safe. However, the damage done around the heroes made it prominent the amount of power this man had to shake, knowing they've never faced anything like this nor even heard of someone capable of doing this on the villain's side. Genist, I need you and the rest of the heroes to evacuate the civilians. My son and I will handle this. Nana took charge of the situation with everyone still in shock to be unable to argue this. The mother cracked her knuckles while standing beside Izuku with a smirk on her face. You can go help the people too if you want. I know you're aware how dangerous this man is. Trust me when I say I'm more calm now than when I was in the forest. This time, I know not to hold back and keep my cool. Izuku slammed his hands to the ground to use a massive dose of electricity to destroy the ground and act as a cover. Clouding my judgment with smoke. That would work if I had no eyes to see. However, I easily know where you are and what you are doing. Eat lightning. Sturm Koenig. Izuku used a massive amount of electricity right off the bat in a forward punch directly in front of AFO for him to use the electromagnetic quirk. He had to circle the electricity around him. Figured you'd do that, so I had a special tool made for that. Izuku pulled out of his back pocket two blades that seemed more like lightning rods than actual weapons. Have you ever heard of Kiba blades? 2. In one slash, Izuku was able to bring back the lighting he attacked AFO with and hold them in his blades. Fascinating. You were able to completely redirect the lightning with those weapons. Truly a unique man. You are to think that outside the box. However, you are not the only one that can. Grounding current. The electrical field around Izuku's weapons went directly down towards the ground for him to jump away quickly and notice it came back once he was out of a certain radius. I personally wanted to take you on with your father's quirk and defeat you with that. It would be poetic irony at its finest. But, I am just as much willing to change my tactics as you are. You son of a bitch. Nana came directly at the villain with a solid punch to the face to crack his visor. She repeatedly gave punches to his chest, forcing the villain to back up while adding OFA's embers left inside her to the mix. This was stopped however when AFO grabbed her arms and prevented the older pro from moving. So the smokescreen was meant to hide you instead of Izuku. Quite smart. Nope. It was to keep your attention on us while he arrives. Nana smiled as a figure came right out of the smoke to punch AFO a distance away and let go of Nana. Seems we meet again, all for one. Now with his visor completely cracked open to show the top half of the villain's head, AFO smirks seeing all three of the OFA users he couldn't kill yet together. Well, this is quite a treat. Have you all come here to make sure I die a second time? This ends today. All three of us are gonna make sure you never harm another person again. Nana stormed in first out of the group with Toshinori and Izuku coming shortly after for the final fight among OFA and AFO to officially begin. At UA, hey guys, Shimura's on the news. Everyone began going in front of the TV to see Izuku as well as Nana and Toshinori on the screen taking on AFO. How's it looking so far? Iida asks. Kaminari was fearful to say as they witness Izuku get thrown through a wall. I'd say, kinda okay. He just got thrown through a wall. How the hell is that okay? Momo and Ochako shouted in anger as both Korin and Mushu attack and claw into Kaminari's head. 1. Ow. Todoroki sits in front of the TV watching the ordeal with Bakugo beside him. Hey, any chance you two can scooch a little? I wanna see Shimura fight. Fuck you. Raccoon eyes. I'll move when I see Deku kick this asshole's ass. Momo decided to bring up the fight on her tablet for everyone to watch and avoid missing anything as they witnessed the Battle of Kamino take place. All the while, both Momo and Ochako were worried for their husband's well-being. Don't lose Izuku. This is what you've fought hard to achieve. At Kamino, Izuku had come out of his indent in a wall to charge towards AFO with electricity surging through his body. As he did, Toshinori kept the villain busy for Nana to come over and give a solid punch to AFO's face. This forces him to be slightly disoriented before having Izuku's strike hit him hard in the gut. Quite an impressive blow of electricity and power, young man. But there is still much that you are lacking in. The electricity that Izuku sent towards AFO was stored in his body before being dispersed all around to knock both him, Nana and Toshinori back. Now stunned, the villain aimed at Nana first with some satisfaction. This scene remind you of something, Paragon. This is the scene that you were forced to witness over 2 decades ago with your late husband. Such a shame the cycle will repeat with your sons, this time in your place. Before the attack could land, a small old man came out of nowhere to grab Nana as well as 2 blasts of blue and red fire to engulf the villain. Did you forget that these 3 weren't the only heroes you had to worry about? Dobby and Endeavor came charging in for AFO to use an oxygen-stifling quirk to disperse the flames and send another air pressure attack at the 2. Dodge, dumbass. That wasn't necessary, Endeavor shouts as the 2 narrowly evade an attack made with Toshinori recovering and attacking AFO. The villain tanked the hit and reflected the force back before having Izuku grab AFO and suplexes him. Take this, freak show. The hit forced the ground to crack under them with a dust cloud coming from the attack. Once it cleared, Izuku was shown with him standing with his head bleeding for some reason. He collapsed to the ground with AFO standing behind him. If I hadn't used a quirk to change our positions, you may have ended me there. Izuku. Nana saw her son on the ground to run for him before Toshinori goes and takes on AFO alone. You bastard. He attacked ruthlessly with rage in every hit. How dare you harm my younger brother? He has everything ahead of him. What gives you the right to take something like that from him? Why wouldn't I? He became part of this the second he became your successor. If you have anyone to blame, blame yourself. It was yours and that woman's hopes to make him your successor. You both knew the threats that awaited him but so carelessly pushed him forward. AFO created 2 simultaneous attacks from his hands to create a massive explosion. As this happened, Nana tried to help her son who couldn't stop bleeding from his head. Izuku, stay with me, damn it, somebody get help, she pleaded with nobody able to help as Izuku's eyes started to open up. Izuku, it's gonna be okay. You're gonna pull through. Mom, I'm sorry I couldn't help more. Don't say stuff like that right now. You're gonna be okay. I promise. Don't raise the boy's hopes up. You and I know he's going to die if he doesn't get help. All this is your fault and your fault alone. You let things progress. You let your adopted son take the quirk that forced your late husband to be taken away. You let your own biological son take the quirk after that almost forced your oldest son to die. And it's your own fault for not keeping Izuku Shimura from this tragedy. Everything that has climaxed to this scene right now is your fault and your burden to bear. So tell me, how many more lives will be destroyed in yours and the predecessor's fruitless attempt to kill me? I'd quite love to see who else will be brought into a war you forced upon them. Perhaps your oldest son's daughter, your younger son's daughter, or maybe perhaps the children growing in your 2 daughters-in-law. Nana rested Izuku on the ground before standing up to face the villain. This was my fault. I let Izuku do this. I let Toshinori give the power to him. I gave Toshinori the power. But that's also the reason why I have to be the one to make things right today. Nana charged at AFO with him creating a massive shockwave to which Nana was able to create an equal strength one against it. Even if this is all my fault, I'll make up for that right now in taking you down. The 7th holder gave a solid punch to AFO for him to accept it and be sent back slightly. Heroes no matter who they are will always find a way to save those in need and stop those that wish to do harm, even if it costs them everything. Toshinori stood up with his final embers of OFA being almost all but depleted to see his brother on the ground to move quickly towards him. Izuku, seeing the footage, a news reporter was able to capture All Might in his weakened state for the world to see. Izuku, stay with me. Steam began to come off of his head with Toshinori seeing what seemed like his head was letting off green lights. You're wasting your time, All Might. An injury like that isn't going to magically heal. You know that far better than anyone. Sending Nana into the air with an air pressure attack, AFO began moving towards the 2 men in hopes to finish them. Do not worry though, I shall put you both out of your misery soon enough. I'm not as heartless to let you die a slow and painful death. However, I did at least wish for you both to know you were dying. Before he could get near them, a giant tornado of blue fire came towards the villain along with a second less powerful flame to feed into it. "You're not getting anywhere near these two, you freakshow," Dabi shouted with Edgeshot coming over as quickly as he could with medical equipment to stabilize Izuku. "Don't worry, I'll do what I can." The pro began looking at Izuku's head to stop and notice something strange. His head, it looks, almost like it's searing shut. "Wait, did you just say, searing shut?" Toshinori looked at the injury to see what looked like burn marks where his head was open. "Edgeshot, do you have a defibrillator on you?" "Yes, but why? Use it on Izuku. Are you insane?" "Just do it." Not wanting to anger the pro, Edgeshot did what he could to pull out the equipment from the medical tools he was able to obtain. Starting it at 600 watts. The pro placed the two electrical currents right on Izuku's chest before activating the shock. Clear. The shock went through Izuku with his head beginning to glow again. "Go higher." 1. Going to 700 watts now. Once again, Edgeshot prepared the electrical circuits and placed them on Izuku's chest. Clear. A higher shock went through his body with the light glowing a little brighter. "Go as high as it can go." Seeing what's happening and smelling the burning of human skin, Edgeshot realized to put the defibrillator as high as it can go. Setting at 900 watts. Clear. The electricity kept working with the light coming off Izuku glowing a little brighter. "It's not enough. We need more power. I can't get this any higher." Edgeshot looked around before noticing some downed power lines that had electrical currents through them still. "How strong of a current do you want?" "As high as you can get." Grabbing Izuku and bringing him over, Edgeshot stood near the lines as close as he could without any threat to his well-being. "If this guy dies, I'm not to blame. Let's both be clear on that. Just do it." Edgeshot tossed Izuku onto the wires, causing the live current to flow directly into Izuku's body. The resulting charge caused him to put off even more light, to a degree that the other heroes were nearly blinded. So much electricity was sucked out of the wire and into him it caused a momentary brownout around the blocks that the battle was taking place. Once the resulting sparks from the grounded wires stopped, Edgeshot and Endeavor were greeted with the sight of a now floating form of Izuku. The living lightning bolt levitating a foot off the ground with discharges of plasma arcing off his body and grounding to the concrete, scorching it and leaving glass along the trails of electricity. "What the?" Edgeshot was amazed as electricity was still coming off Izuku with steam being seen very prominently on his head. "Toshi, what happened?" Izuku said rather groggily as he noticed his mother being thrown towards the two. She was caught by Izuku with Dabi and Endeavor in AFO's hands. "Congratulations Izuku Shimura, truly a well-done effort on your end. Using the power of the grid to keep your injury shut. Truly remarkable. Sadly, you've already lost a lot of blood and are barely standing just like your family." "Shut the fuck up, Dick Cheese. I asked Toshi, not you." AFO smiled under his visor as he floated above the three Shimuras. He dropped Dabi and Endeavor before holding his hand up. "It's good to know that you were still alive. This way, I can end all three of you the way I wanted." The entire cursed bloodline of the OFA family, gone in a flash. Out of now the here, a foe's hand began warping and distorting into an unholy form with grotesque alterations. Locomotive corkscrew, explosiveness x4, enhancement x3, multiplication, hypertrophy, rivet, airwalk, bone spear, diamond blood, current enhancer. The attacks up till now have just been warm-ups. I had hopes to kill all three of you together once you were weak enough. The embers left inside of Paragon is near their end with All Might's not being any better. Not only that, but you're also hardly even able to stand right now, boy. This attack is almost certain to end all three of you with the level of damage you've all taken along with your current strength at this point in time. I know I've said it already, but you are one ugly motherfucker." Izuku smirked before taking a deep breath in before activating OFA. "Mom, Toshi, I think we should end this now." Both nodded while trying to activate and use the final bits of OFA in their bodies alongside Izuku. "You're right about one thing, AFO. The next attack we give will be the end of everything. But I don't think it'll end the way you want it to." All four prepared for their final strike with parts of Toshinori's body bulking up to have his right half look as if he does when his quirk is activated with Nana's body having electricity running around it. Meanwhile, Izuku's right hand began to alter and turn no different than if it was a living electrical hand. AFO charged first with all three of the Shimuras charging in. Their fists collided with the shockwave sending the unconscious bodies of both Todoroki's back. As it seemed, both looked fairly even in power before AFO began to laugh. Is this truly the best you all have? Impact recoil. A large amount of damage came to all three's arms as blood began to come out to force Izuku to bend down a little from pain. Don't give him an inch. Nana shouted as her arm felt far more destroyed than either of her sons due to her OFA's strength. In a split second, Nana moved from her position to charge at AFO and land a solid blow to his head to break the visor on him before Izuku and Toshinori did the exact same by going to the side or under his arm. Toshinori transferred the power of his OFA from his right to his left hand to give another hit to the villain's face while Izuku went down and used his power on AFO's chest to send an electrical current directly to his heart. Gah, you little pests, I won't go down that easily. That's cause none of us put our backs into it. The three OFA users shouted in anger as Nana stood on AFO's left arm as it began to alter and mutate. Toshinori passed the power of OFA back to his right arm to pull it back, and Izuku prepared to give an uppercut with his right with far more electricity flowing through it than his last punch. With this, your long-running nightmare is finally over, monster. Nana shouted in anger as she pushed her fist forward. Never again will you harm anyone. Toshinori's and Nana's fists began colliding to hit AFO's temples with Izuku coming underneath. This nightmare ends tonight here and now. His fist connected with AFO's chin to have all three shout in unison. Three-way United States of Smash. A massive vortex of wind and electricity engulfed the area to make the entire country see the act outside no matter how far away they were as well as nearly crash a helicopter trying to catch the entire thing. Once all lights and wind died down however, the body of the once dangerous villain fell to the ground severely burned to the point all that was left was the charred skeleton of the man known as AFO with all three Shimuras standing with shaking fists in the air as an indication they won. 11. They won. The villain is defeated with all might, Paragon and Silverstorm won. People around the country were cheering with the members of the UA dorm happy that their friend classmate won. However, none were more happy knowing everything turned out okay more than Momo and Ochako who felt a great deal of relief knowing Izuku was alive and that the fight he would have to handle was finally over. Few days passed since the fight with AFO with villains everywhere panicking, seeing the mantle of the underworld king taken down by the Shimura family. Though All Might had retired, the appearance of Silverstorm on the scene made things far more difficult for villains knowing he not only outpowered the former symbol of peace, but also would be able to beat him in a matter of speed. As such, the status quo of villains and heroes was able to remain the same in a sense. Along this line, Endeavor was brought up on domestic abuse charges. As a way to keep this quiet and out of papers for the entire family's safety, the pro pleaded guilty and was sentenced to 4 years community service as well as immediate step down of his title as a pro hero. Along with this, he was forced to cut any and all communications with his family in a non-disclosure agreement. As such, the new head of the Endeavor agency had gone down to Sekitangara. Due to his actions as a member of a league member, the undercover pro was able to grab as much intel as he could to defeat any lingering followers of AFO. This includes the unknown faction of the Liberation of Quirk's movement and the former villain Kingpin's doctor. Speaking of villains, due to the more recent acts, Himiko Toga was brought in for interrogation after regaining consciousness. She was notably still out of it, but cooperated to explain her life as well as her loss of sanity shortly after high school. Thanks to eyewitness reports and testimony from unnamed witnesses to keep them safe, it was shown that she was facing scrutiny that most likely didn't help her breakdown. Though she did kill 3 people, the fact she was willingly cooperating and helping however she could, Himiko Toga was given probation and meant to spend at least 5 years under the watch of Sekitangara. Alongside this, she is forced to go to group helps for those that suffer from quirk scrutiny as a way to help reduce the mental strain and teach her methods in coping. From what she's said, Toga is more willing to do this in a way to atone for what she's done. As this happened, Izuku was forced to go to a hospital in hopes to monitor him and make sure he wasn't suffering from any other injuries. It was a quick recovery on the field, but his skull suffered a notable crack as well as a concussion that may or may not have caused him some brain damage due to it being too difficult to tell yet. Thanks to Recovery Girl trying to keep prolonged damage to a minimum for people in the Camino incident, Izuku was able to make a full recovery on his third day and could walk out of the hospital. To pick him up, Momo, Ochako and Eri waited for him outside his hospital door. Two of the three clearly irritated with how scared their husband made them. Hey, Izuku walked out and smiled at his wives for them to ignore him and start walking away. What's wrong? I'm better and AFO was stopped. You both should at least be a little happy about that. You're lucky I don't hit you over the head for scaring us like that. Momo states bluntly without turning to Izuku with Ochako agreeing. Yeah, you scared us half to death when you fell to the ground. I know that fight was nasty, but you should have thought a little more and avoided doing something so dangerous that almost killed you. Now knowing he screwed up, Izuku let out a sigh and agreed. You're right, I screwed up. What can I do to make it up to the two of you? First, you're taking us to lunch today, and it's at that new buffet that has the dessert bar with unlimited toppings for Sundays. Ochako states this while turning to show an irritated face. Second, we're going to go shopping afterwards for Eri, ourselves, and some infant clothes to start setting up for our kids that are coming. Momo turned back to show a similar face for Izuku to grunt irritatingly. Third, you're not getting any kisses for the day and tonight, you're not having any fun tonight with us. And if you groan or make a bit of a fit about it, you can guarantee that it'll keep going into the next day. You'll also like A Ranger's Duty, 5.7K 126. The night is cold as the quirkless Izuku Yagi wanders in an effort to find safe lodgings. Why? Because he ran away after being suicide-baited, denied a hero's path. His hiatus, the vigilante, Bina X male reader. 255K 5.8K. One day long ago in Quig, China, a luminescent baby was born with a unique power. Then, as time passed, the similar phenomena happened all over the world, and soon. All the power. 597K 13.1K. Izuku hated his life. He hates school to how distant his mother is from him. Ever since that day, a year after getting told he was quirkless, it's been going downhill. W. Izuku Kaizen, 28.1K 270. The story follows the life of Izuku Yagi as he was living his life with his family quite peacefully until he and his sister went to the quirk doctor and life changed calm. Izuku Shimura, the Saiyan of Earth. 4.9K 159. Inko Shimura, the daughter of the late hero Nana Shimura, was walking through a forest after a bad breakup. Fortune smiles upon her as this day a boy would arrive who she. The married life of Izuku Midoriya Izumomo. 103K 1.4K. Izuku Midoriya, the son of All Might but stepson and half-brother of Izumi Yagi. Izuku Yagi was diagnosed quirkless, but what he and the others didn't know except his father and son, Dad Mido. 224K 5.1K. This is an O where Inko Midoriya marries Toshinori Yagi, or better known as All Might. Izuku Yagi is All Might's biological son, who inherited a stronger version of his. Seriously, guess I did kinda screw up here too. Izuku had a kick to the shin from Ochako with his ear pinched by Momo. We're not playing right now, Izuku. You scared us too much and today you're paying for the consequences for that. Momo let go of Izuku's ear after telling him this for the electric quirk user to rub the back of his head. Alright, I guess I do owe you two for that. Can I at least go to the dorms and get new clothes? I doubt people wanna see me wear a pair of torn up clothing that was worn a few days ago to probably smell. Please do. Both answered in unison for Eri to begin babbling and laughing afterwards. The small family began walking out of the hospital and traveling towards the school to prepare how they can, with Izuku trying to find out more about current events as he was out of commission. So how's Todoroki handling the whole endeavor thing? He's managing. Momo turned back to Izuku, somewhat calmer. He seems to be a lot calmer and nicer than normal. I also heard that his mother was able to leave the hospital she was in and live with his family in a new home Sekatangara bought for them. We were able to talk with his mother when she came to see her son. She's very nice and from what it seems like a good mother at heart. What about Toga? Any idea what's actually gonna happen with her? Ochako spoke up for her to explain what's happening. From what I'm hearing, she's going to be taking general studies in UA. 'Cause of her past, it's not exactly going to end well if she does go into the hero course. A villain becoming a hero. That doesn't exactly sound so good for a political point of view. Not counting the fact that right now we have a lack of manpower with All Might and Endeavor now not being pro-heroes anymore with Hawks being the next to achieve the mantle. He's not a bad pro, but there's still a gap between him and his former higher-ranked pros. Something tells me the days going forward are gonna get a little more difficult. Yeah, but things will eventually get better. Losing an era is part of life. All Might wasn't going to be the #1 pro-hero forever and we all knew it. Now it's time for all of us to step up and try to fill the mantle he left. Izuku thought of what Momo said to look up in the sky, remembering how this was always inevitable but still sad to know it was happening. Guess we'll just have to work harder then. The electric quirk user smiled at this before heading off with Ochako and Momo towards the dorms to try and get the day going for them. Several months later, Izuku began kneeling on the floor feeling nothing but absolute pain. His body couldn't hold out much longer as his arms were being held up. Ah! The sound of Ochako and Momo screaming before the shrieking of two small children was heard with doctors pulling them to the side. 2. Congratulations. It's a boy and a girl, Mrs. Shimura and Mrs. Shimura. The doctor spoke up while looking at Ochako then Momo to indicate who had who. Having his hands let go of now, Izuku fell to the floor as it felt like his hands were broken by giving them to both his wives to squeeze. Ah, I think you both broke my hands. Suck it up, you baby. Both shouted in irritation for being on a delivery table for at least 10 hours trying to give birth to their children. At least that is over now. I'm tired. Ochako laid her head back with a smile on her face as Momo looked very unresponsive. Momo, you okay? Just tired. Where's my baby? A nurse came over to hand Momo her child with another handing Ochako hers. The dark-haired woman smiled down at the infant in her arms before resting her on her chest to listen to her heartbeat. As she did, the small infant gripped the hospital gown on her mother's chest while silently snoring. She's adorable. She looks just like her mother. Izuku gets off the ground to rub his new infant daughter's back and marvel at her dark hair. And it looks like I've got a cute little man here too. Turning to see Ochako in a similar fashion with her infant son with brown hair and freckles resting his back on Ochako to face upwards. He's so precious. All of a sudden, the small child began taking a deep breath in to indicate he was about to sneeze before letting loose a massive shockwave with it, destroying a notable amount of the wall to the side of everyone. Fortunately, nobody was in the path of it to see it go directly through 2 other rooms for a doctor to look into the holes made with shock. And apparently he gets my strength. I wonder what this little one can. Izuku turned around to stop mid-sentence for Momo to stare at him. 1. What? Did you make a pacifier for her? No. Why? Izuku pointed down for Momo to see a pacifier in her daughter's mouth. What the heck? She's been born for what? 5 minutes. How the heck does she even know what a pacifier even is? The said pacifier dropped out of the child's mouth for the infant to notice and open its eyes a little. When she did, her eyes turned green before another pacifier was created as if out of thin air. 1. Well, at least they didn't get my electricity. That may have ended badly. And being born with a child that can create a sonic boom and one that can make anything by thinking it isn't. Both women argued this for Izuku to think about the response they gave. Good point. The 3 laughed at this as Nana and Eri came walking in. I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say one of these 2 caused the whole. As she mentioned this, another sneeze was coming to the child for everyone to panic. Hit the deck. Nana knelt down for another sneeze to come to destroy the wall exiting out to the outside world. Looking at the open space with remnants of building coming down, Izuku patted himself off before answering. To give you an answer to that question, yes. 1. Izuku turned to pick up Eri and sit her on his lap with him in a chair between his 2 wives. Well, nobody said this was going to be easy, but we'll work it out somehow. Somehow I think we'll have to call my parents for regular repairs. Ochako laughed a little with Momo fading out of consciousness, not wanting to be bothered with trivial stuff anymore. The three relaxed after this to enjoy the calmness of the moment and look at what the days to come will bring to accept with open arms. The end. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. Now we will see you in the next video.